Chapter 2909. Book 1, Chapter 349. Death. Zhao Fu slowly walked in front of the two of them and smiled as he said, "If you two are a bit more obedient, I can spare your lives." The two of them pleaded in pain, "Sir, we're willing to be obedient. Please don't kill us." Zhao Fu had the two bugs stop, and the two of them immediately stopped feeling pain and looked at Zhao Fu in fear. Zhao Fu looked at the white-haired elder and said, "Take care of the corpses. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. I'll be heading to the temple now." The white-haired elder smiled as he said, "Sir, we understand. Our entire village supports you and believes in you. You'll definitely make our Sun clan powerful, and will be willing to worship you for generations to come." Zhao Fu lightly nodded and looked at the two of them as he said, "Now, take me to the temple." The two of them nervously nodded in fear. The three of them walked towards a place, and as they walked, Zhao Fu asked, "What is the temple like?" One of the people nervously replied, "We belong to the Bright Sun Temple's White Grade Temple, which is located in the northwest. We have around 3,000 people." Hearing this, Zhao Fu felt quite confused and asked, "What's a Bright Sun Temple? And what's a White Grade Temple? Can you explain it to me first?" That person replied, "The shrines are divided into 8. They are the Vast Sun Shrine, the Heavenly Sun Shrine, the Divine Sun Shrine, the Holy Sun Shrine, the Bright Sun Shrine, the Light Sun Shrine, the Great Sun Shrine, and the Flaming Sun Shrine. Each shrine is divided into 5 levels. The lowest level is the White Shrine, followed by the Yellow Shrine, Red Shrine, Purple Shrine, and the Gold Shrine. A Yellow Grade Temple can manage hundreds of White Grade Temples, and a Red Grade Temple can manage hundreds of Yellow Grade Temples. Our Bright Sun Temple has 6 Golden Grade Temples, and one of them is where the highest grade Sun God Emissary resides. That temple is also called the Bright Sun Temple." Zhao Fu asked, "How do you God emissaries differentiate between levels?" That person replied, "According to the hierarchy of the shrine, we are white gods, and we have to have a white extreme yang seal imprinted on our foreheads, while yellow god envoys have to have a yellow extreme yang seal imprinted on their foreheads. The highest rank is the sun god envoy, and he is the person with the greatest authority and status in the shrine." Zhao Fu nodded in understanding. The three of them continued forward. That person asked carefully, "Sir, I heard them talking about the prophecy just now. Could it be that you are the one who prophesied in the legends?" Zhao Fu nodded. "I think so." The two of them knelt on the ground in excitement. "We are willing to serve you wholeheartedly and obey all your orders." Zhao Fu asked in surprise, "Is that prophecy really that important to you?" The man replied, If the temple knows that you're the one who prophesied, they'll definitely be very happy and warmly welcome you." Zhao Fu asked, "Then what does your highest sun god envoy think of the person who prophesied?" That person smiled as he replied, "I believe that the sun god envoy will welcome you very much." Zhao Fu lightly laughed. Things are not so simple. The sun god envoy was the person with the greatest authority, and if someone with greater authority than them appeared, they would find it very difficult to accept. Moreover, the first evil immortal might have been the person who had caused a mutation back then, and the consequences would be severe. If Zhao Fu revealed his identity, his life might be in danger. The two of them did not know what Zhao Fu was laughing about, and they carefully knelt on the ground. Zhao Fu asked, "How strong is your most powerful sun god envoy?" One of them thought for a moment before replying, "He's already at the half-step almighty realm, and he's just a bit away from breaking through." Zhao Fu felt quite surprised. After all, Zhao Fu had just returned from the lunar ground. The 12 moons immortals were half-step celestials, but the sun god envoy had not even reached the almighty realm. The 8th sun god shrine had truly declined. Even though the 12 moons had declined, they could still completely suppress the 8th sun god shrine. Zhao Fu continued to ask, "How strong are the people from the other god shrines and gold god shrines?" The person replied, "Our bright sun god shrine has 5 gold god envoys, and they're almost at the almighty realm. They're just slightly weaker than the sun god envoys. Some of the sun god envoys from the other god shrines have reached the almighty realm, and some haven't. Their god shrines have too many gold god envoys, so I'm not too sure. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "The men might understand. Since the two of you are willing to be loyal to me, I won't mistreat you." After saying this, Zhao Fu threw 2 bottles of medicinal pills to the two of them. The two of them received the medicinal pills in delight and knelt on the ground to thank Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu found out their names. One was called Eternal Time, and the other was called Great Time. The one who had been answering Zhao Fu's questions was called Eternal Time. The group continued to walk forwards and came to an exquisite and tall god shrine. The surrounding villages were quite dilapidated and barren, and some people did not even have enough to eat. However, this god shrine looked so exquisite and noble. It seemed that it had been absorbing the blood of the villages. As the ruler of an empire, Zhao Fu felt quite angry. He definitely would not allow such a faction to exist in his territory. There were 2 armored guards standing at the entrance of the god shrine. Seeing the 2 god envoys bring a cloaked figure in front of them, the guards asked, "Who is he?" Eternal Time smiled and was about to speak. Zhao Fu stretched out his hand and signaled for him not to speak as he said, "I have an important matter to discuss with the palace lord. I'm not an outsider. I'm also from the Sun Clan." As he spoke, Zhao Fu stretched out a hand and a wave of energy spread out, causing many golden sun marks to appear on the back of his hand. Zhao Fu had fused with the Sun Clan's bloodline when he was alive, so he could easily manifest the Sun bloodline. The 2 guards immediately became respectful toward Zhao Fu. Anyone who could easily manifest the Sun bloodline was an expert. The guards said, "Please come in. I'll inform the palace lord." Zhao Fu nodded and followed them into the god shrine. "Let go of me." An exquisite-looking girl was being carried forward by a strong man. The girl struggled with all her might, but to no avail. Zhao Fu looked at the girl in confusion. Eternal Time replied, "She's a maid. The god shrine will bring back some beautiful girls for the god envoys of the god shrine to play with." Zhao Fu frowned. This girl was evidently unwilling. The people from the god shrine would definitely snatch her back. The god shrine was truly a malignant tumor of the extreme Yang region. Zhao Fu said, "You two save the girl first. I'll go see the palace lord first." Eternal Time smiled and said, "Understood." Eternal Time and Great Time walked towards the man and asked him to release the girl. The man was somewhat unwilling, and Eternal Time took out some good things in exchange before the man reluctantly agreed. He even smiled and said that he could return the girl after Eternal Time and Great Time had enough of playing with the girl. Eternal Time responded with a few words and waited in place with the girl. Zhao Fu followed the guards into the god shrine with a trace of coldness in his eyes. Chapter 29:10. Book 1. Zhao Fu was stunned. Zhao Fu came to the main hall and saw a bald old man, who had drunk too much, sitting on a chair. He was wearing a white robe with a white pattern on it. The bald old man said lazily, "I heard that you were looking for me. What is it?" Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "It's a precious treasure. Please allow the others to leave." The bald old man felt a trace of interest and said, "All of you can leave." The guards obeyed and walked out of the hall and closed the doors. The bald old man looked at Zhao Fu and asked, "What treasure is it? Hurry and take it out." Zhao Fu slowly opened his cloak and countless blood-red insects flowed out. There were centipedes, scorpions, ants, earthworms, beetles, and worms, and they quickly rushed towards the bald old man. The bald old man felt quite startled, and before he could react, his body was inundated by the countless insects. The insects madly drilled into the bald old man's body, and the bald old man struggled as he cried out in pain. Zhao Fu released a barrier, cutting off the cries. The countless insects entered the bald old man's body, and the bald old man's eyes were hollow as he lay there like a corpse. Now that the bald old man's body was under Zhao Fu's control, he looked exactly the same as before. Zhao Fu looked at him and said, "Give me the position of palace master." The bald old man said respectfully, "The position of palace master cannot be casually transferred. One must first become a god emissary and raise one's divine power by a level." Zhao Fu asked, "How do I become a god emissary?" the bald old man replied. Receive a baptism of divine light. Zhao Fu asked in confusion. Didn't the 8 sun gods disappear long ago? Who does this divine power belong to? The bald old man replied. Divine power comes from the sun god palace and is ownerless divine power. Zhao Fu thought for a moment before asking. Since it is ownerless divine power, then can the sun god emissary absorb ownerless divine power and become the new sun god? The bald old man replied. No sun god emissary can do that. The sun god's body is innately born, not acquired. To become a new sun god, one needs to obtain a lot of divinity from the sun god to become a new sun god. Zhao Fu asked with interest, where is the divinity of the sun god? The bald old man replied, I don't know. Zhao Fu felt a bit disappointed and said, then take me to receive the divine power baptism. The bald old man led them out of the room, and no one else noticed anything amiss. Zhao Fu left the temple and came to a large hall. Inside, there was a 10-meter tall statue of a corpse. The statue was of a bald man with a muscular body. His eyes were spirited, and he gave off a dignified aura. This must be the innate sun god. The bald old man said, Sir, please stand in front of the temple. Zhao Fu came to the front of the temple and saw that the statue gave off boundless golden light, which shined on Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu closed his eyes and sensed a wave of ownerless divine power enter his body, causing his body to go through slight changes. At the same time, Zhao Fu sensed the 8 forbidden blood art in his body and found that there were indeed some changes. It seemed that the 8 forbidden blood art was really related to the 8 sun god art. However, as Zhao Fu looked closely, he found that even though the 8 forbidden blood art was related to the 8 days divine power, it had become a completely different kind of power. Even though the 8 days divine power could affect the 8 forbidden blood art, it could not fuse with it. Zhao Fu opened his eyes and said, too slow. Looking at the statue, Zhao Fu's eyes became serious and a formless aura spread out, creating a massive suction force that absorbed all of the golden light from the statue. This powerful wave of divine power entered Zhao Fu's body, but Zhao Fu felt that it was not enough, so he grabbed out with his hand. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out, and everyone in the God Palace heard this massive explosion and looked at the statue curiously. The statue gave off a large amount of golden light and a powerful aura that continuously flowed into Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu's body also gave off a powerful aura. By now, Zhao Fu still felt that it was not enough, so he walked over and his body turned into a ray of golden light as he fused with the statue. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out in all directions as the sun gave off intense light in the sky. A massive golden ray of light containing immense power descended from the sky and landed on the God Palace, causing a powerful wave of divine power to spread out. Sensing this wave of divine power, the countless god emissaries immediately knelt on the ground, looking incredibly nervous and feeling terror. The golden ray of light landed on the statue that Zhao Fu had fused with, and Zhao Fu wantonly devoured divine power. An even more powerful wave of sun god power flowed out from Zhao Fu's body, and a round white crystal that was as big as a lychee appeared on Zhao Fu's forehead. A terrifying wave of divine power spread out from Zhao Fu's body, and the stone shattered, revealing Zhao Fu's body. He gave off a faint golden light and floated in the air, looking like a true godly spirit. Everything returned to normal, and Zhao Fu looked quite surprised. He found that because of the 8 forbidden blood art, he was quite compatible with the 8 sun god power. It was as if he was born to be a vessel for the 8 sun god power, and now Zhao Fu could be called a god corpse. The meaning was that the crystal on the forehead of a god corpse was an existence that surpassed even sun god emissaries, and it could contain massive amounts of divine power. Zhao Fu was now sure that he was the person in the prophecy, as everything was quite beneficial to him. If it was not for the fact that the bald elder was completely controlled by Zhao Fu, he would have looked incredibly shocked. After all, Zhao Fu had just been bathed in divine light and did not know how terrifying the divine light's power had become, and he now had the status of a sun god emissary. Zhao Fu looked at the bald elder and asked, "Can I become a palace lord now?" The bald elder nodded and said, "I'll give the order now." The 3,000 or so god emissaries gathered in front of the palace, and Zhao Fu and the bald elder stood on a stage in front of them. Jiu Ri and Great Ri both gave a trace of a smile as they stood by the side. They already knew what had happened, and they rejoiced that they had submitted to Zhao Fu earlier. In the future, they would follow Zhao Fu to become more powerful. Everyone else was confused. They didn't know what was going on. "Who is that black-cloaked person?" The bald elder said. "I'm going to make an announcement, which is that I'm going to give the position of palace lord to this sir. He is now the owner of this palace." An uproar sounded out as everyone looked quite confused. They could not understand why the palace lord would suddenly give the position to someone else. Had something happened between them? Zhao Fu said, even though his voice was not loud. It could be heard throughout the entire palace. "As the palace lord, I'm going to abolish 2 systems. The god emissaries are not allowed to take resources from villages, and I'm going to abolish the servant system." Apex. Chapter 2911. Book 1. Chapter 351. These words immediately caused a large number of people to be dissatisfied because it affected their interests. "I object. Why should we abolish these 2 systems? I feel that these 2 systems are very good. There's no need to abolish them. I also object. These 2 systems have existed for many years. We should respect the systems set by our ancestors and not make any changes." "Who are you? Why do you have to be the Hall Master?" "I object to you becoming the Hall Master." "That's right. I'm asking you, why did you abolish the 2 systems? We don't accept you as the Hall Master. We support the old Hall Master. I also support the old Hall Master. I don't recognize your position as Hall Master. Originally, I had no opinion on who would become the Hall Master. However, since you want to abolish these 2 systems, I will firmly oppose you. I also strongly oppose it. If you abolish these 2 systems, where will we go to get supplies, and where will we go to play with women? If you don't solve these 2 problems, I will definitely oppose you. Everyone, support the old Hall Master. Don't let this person become the new Hall Master." The many maids at the side of the main hall were surprised. They didn't expect the new palace lord to make such a decision. However, they sincerely hoped that Zhao Fu could abolish these 2 systems, because they were all forcibly brought here to serve many divine emissaries, so they were naturally unwilling. "This Hall Master is a good person. I support him. Yes, he seems to have given us hope. I also support him to become the Hall Master. It's a pity that we don't have much power, so we can't help him at all. You see, so many gods' envoys are against it. I don't think it's possible. I also don't think it's possible. These 2 systems have been in place for so many years. How could they be abolished all of a sudden? We shouldn't have any hope. Sigh, we should all be a bit more honest. If those oracles knew what we were thinking, they would definitely torture us even more. At that time, we might even be tortured to death by them. Such things are not uncommon. Even so, I still wholeheartedly support him. Whether he succeeds or fails in the end, he is a respectable person. I agree with this, and I sincerely support him." "I support you." A discordant voice rang out. It was the girl who had been saved by Zhao Fu. These words caused the god emissaries to become furious, and they all cursed out. "Who do you think you are? A lowly person like you dares to be so bold? You're dead meat in the future. You're just a maid. You don't have the right to speak here. Get out of my sight now." Facing so many curses, the young girl also revealed a fearful expression. She had shouted without thinking too much. At that moment, Zhao Fu gave a slight smile as he asked, "I don't know how many people are against it, so please step forward." Hearing this, people stood up one after another. There were around 2,500 people. Originally, the temple had around 3,000 people, but there were so many people who objected. The people who stood out smiled and did not seem afraid at all. With so many people opposing, they did not believe that Zhao Fu would dare to abolish these 2 systems. If Zhao Fu really wanted to abolish these two systems, they did not mind rebelling and appointing a new hall master. The smile on Zhao Fu's face gradually turned into a sneer. He stretched out a hand, and a powerful force surged out. Hiss, hiss, hiss! Countless insects and beasts surged out from Zhao Fu's arms. There were spiders, centipedes, aphids, beetles, and earthworms. They surged towards those people like a tidal wave. A look of fear appeared on everyone's faces. Some people wanted to resist, while others wanted to escape. However, facing Zhao Fu's absolute power, they could not resist at all. Pain cries sounded out as blood sprayed everywhere. Those people were savagely devoured by the insects and beasts. This terrifying scene caused everyone else to not dare to move at all. Their bodies were covered with cold sweat, and they felt immense terror. Soon, the insects and beasts devoured all of the people who objected, leaving behind puddles of blood in front of the temple. Zhao Fu recalled the countless insects, and they flooded into Zhao Fu's body. The flesh and blood devoured by the insects and beasts turned into waves of divine energy and gathered in the round crystal on Zhao Fu's forehead. A trace of golden light appeared in the crystal on Zhao Fu's forehead, giving off pure divine energy. Zhao Fu gave a trace of a satisfied smile. Devouring these god emissaries had been of great help to him. The surroundings were deathly silent, and there was a dense stench of blood. Whether it was the surviving god emissaries or the female attendants standing by the side, none of them dared to move. They had never thought that Zhao Fu would be so bloodthirsty and cruel to kill all of those who objected. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Who else dares to object?" The remaining god emissaries lowered their heads, not daring to make a sound. Eternal Sun and Great Sun smiled as they stood up and called out, "We support the Palace Lord and are happy that you can become the Palace Lord. We will listen to all of the Palace Lord's orders." The others looked at each other, and someone immediately called out, "I also support the Palace Lord." The remaining people wanted to live, and there were also some people with a conscience who shouted in support of him. Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile. This was just the first step, and the path ahead would be much more difficult. He smiled as he said, "Since you're willing to support me, I won't mistreat you." Zhao Fu waved his hand, and many resources appeared on the ground, all of which looked quite good. Seeing this scene, everyone else looked delighted and felt that they had followed the right person. Zhao Fu turned to look at the female attendants standing by the side and said, "All of you, come here." Hearing this, the female attendants nervously came in front of Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Don't worry, I won't harm any of you. You can now leave the palace, and those who leave can take some resources and leave." The female attendants happily smiled and knelt on the ground as they said gratefully, "Thank you, Palace Lord." Some of the female attendants asked, "Palace Lord, we have nowhere to go. Can we still stay in the palace?" Zhao Fu nodded, "Of course. In the future, you will no longer be female attendants, but part of the palace. No one will be able to bully you." Hearing this, the female attendants happily knelt on the ground and said, "Thank you, Your Majesty." The female attendants all smiled and looked incredibly happy, and some of them even started to cry. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "That's all for today. If there's anything else, you can directly report to me." After saying this, Zhao Fu prepared to leave. The young woman called out, "Palace Lord, I have nowhere to go. Can I follow you? I also want to grasp power and become an expert like you." Zhao Fu looked at her and said, "Of course." The young woman grinned as she ran over to Zhao Fu and introduced herself. "Palace Lord, I'm called Riqing." Zhao Fu nodded and walked over, and Riqing lightly smiled as she followed behind Zhao Fu. Chapter 29:12. Book 1, Chapter 352. After hearing that Zhao Fu had become the new temple master and that the two systems had been abolished, the white-haired elders' village all gave happy smiles. If it was as the prophecy had said, their days of happiness were about to come. The temple had many villages under its jurisdiction, and after hearing about this, they were all very happy. They supported Zhao Fu as the new temple master and even celebrated fervently. The entire village was in a festive mood. Zhao Fu returned to the main hall and sat down at the temple master's seat as he asked, "Regio, tell me about the temple." Regio smiled as he replied, "Yes. Firstly, the temple had an abundance of resources because it had plundered the various villages' resources all year round." Regio mentioned a few villages that were quite strong and had abundant resources. She asked if Zhao Fu wanted to summon them, but Zhao Fu was not interested at all. Some of the temples around the temple had good relations with each other, while others had bad relations. However, there were no conflicts between the two sides because there were higher-ups, which were the yellow-grade temples. After talking about various things, Regio asked, "Sir, the temple is lacking a lot of people. Do we need to recruit some people to be god emissaries?" Zhao Fu nodded. Regio then asked, "Sir, if we don't collect resources from other villages, what should we do in the future?" This was indeed a problem. They could not just abolish it. They needed a solution. Zhao Fu said, "In the future, the temple's resources will be obtained by the god emissaries, and some of the good resources within the faction should also belong to the temple. This way, they would not have to collect resources from villages and would be able to cultivate." Regio nodded and smiled as he said, "I understand. I'll do it immediately." After Regio left, Riqing looked at Zhao Fu curiously. Zhao Fu looked at her and smiled as he said, "Come here. I'll give you divine power. You need to cultivate well in the future." Riqing happily smiled as she said, "Thank you, Temple Master." Riqing walked in front of Zhao Fu, and the crystal between Zhao Fu's eyebrows shot out a golden light that entered Riqing's forehead. A powerful wave of divine power entered her body, causing her body to give off a golden light. Now that Zhao Fu was a god corpse and could become a vessel for divine power, he could give divine power like the god statues. Moreover, the divine power that Zhao Fu could give was even more powerful than the god statues. Zhao Fu withdrew his power, and Riqing sensed the divine power within her body and happily smiled as she said, "Zhao Fu, thank you, Zhao Fu. I will repay you in the future." Zhao Fu replied nonchalantly, "No need." Zhao Fu said, "No need." After staying here for a day, Zhao Fu prepared to head to the yellow-gray god palace. A mere white-gray god palace was nothing to Zhao Fu. The yellow temple was much more luxurious than the white temple, and the god emissaries here had a yellow sun symbol on their foreheads. They were also bald, and they were much more powerful and numerous than the white temple. However, to Zhao Fu, they were still too weak. After coming to the entrance of the temple, Zhao Fu was stopped by a few guards, and a well-built guard asked, "Who are you?" Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "I'm the temple master of the white temple, and I have something to discuss with the yellow temple master." The guard asked, "You need to prove your identity." Hearing this, Zhao Fu stretched out a hand, and a wave of power gathered in his palm. A white sun symbol appeared, giving off an even more powerful and pure aura. Only white temple masters could have this kind of divine power. The guard said, "Come with me." Zhao Fu smiled and led the guard to the palace. There was a well-built, bearded big man sitting there. He was also bald, and there was a yellow symbol on his forehead. He was not wearing any clothes, and there were two beautiful women by his side. The big man looked at Zhao Fu and asked in confusion, "Which temple master are you? How come I've never seen you before?" Zhao Fu thought about it and smiled as he said, "I'm the 137th temple master." The big man thought about it and looked quite confused. He remembered that the 137th temple master was an old man. A god emissary next to him suddenly thought of something and said, "I heard that a temple master was killed recently and his position was stolen. That person seemed to be very strict with the two systems and wanted to reform something. I think he was the 137th temple master." The big man said furiously, "There's such a thing?" The god emissary said, "I only heard about it. I need to investigate it." The big man looked at Zhao Fu and said, "You're the 137th temple master. Do you think this is true?" Zhao Fu laughed as he said, "It's true. Right now, the temple master is a malignant tumor. I want to change it for the greater future of the Sun clan." The big man furiously called out, Who gave you such courage? Boom! A massive wave of power flowed out of the big man's body as he ferociously slammed his palm towards Zhao Fu, seeming to be able to shatter a large boulder. Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, "Who gave me such courage?" Zhao Fu stretched out his hand and easily grabbed the big man's hand, dispelling his ferocious attack. The big man looked quite startled and hurriedly tried to pull his hand back, but he found that he could not. This person in front of him was extraordinarily strong. The others hurriedly rushed up to help. Boom! Zhao Fu gave off a massive wave of power, sending the person flying back. The person crashed to the ground and coughed up a mouthful of blood. Seeing that he could not break free, the big man gathered a wave of power in his other hand and slammed toward Zhao Fu. At that moment, a large number of insects flowed out of Zhao Fu's body and gave off terrifying auras as they rushed towards the big man. The big man's hand was grabbed by Zhao Fu, and he was unable to resist at all. A large number of insects drilled into the big man's body, causing him to howl in pain. Seeing this, the others revealed expressions of fear and ran out. Even more insects flowed out of Zhao Fu's body and rushed towards the escaping people. They immediately caught up to a few people and started to drill into their bodies, causing them to fall to the ground and howl in pain. Zhao Fu released a barrier to cut off the sound. A while later, the god emissaries rushed in front of the god palace, looking quite confused. They seemed to have heard a cry just then, so they hurried over. However, looking at the scene in front of them, it seemed that nothing had happened. The big man's expression was cold as he said, "What are you people doing here? Hurry up and go back." Hearing this, the god emissaries immediately retreated. Zhao Fu looked at the big man and said, "Give me the position of palace lord." The big man replied, "Yes, sir." The big man's body gave off an intense yellow light that condensed on his forehead, forming a yellow sun mark that flew into Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu was not interested in staying here for long, nor did he directly reform the god palace. After all, the commotion would be too great. After he truly grasped power, he would reform the god palace from top to bottom. Chapter 29:13. Book 1. 353. Zhao Fu then said, "Take me to the god palace." The white god palace's god statues were different to the yellow god palace's god statues. The yellow god palace's god statues were of a higher grade and could give even more divine power. Zhao Fu wanted to see if he could continue to increase his divine power. The big man replied, "Yes." After coming to the god palace, the statue here was 20 meters tall and was not made of stone but of metal. It looked the same as the previous statues, but it gave off an even more powerful aura. Zhao Fu turned into a ray of golden light and shot into the statue. The metal statue seemed to come to life and slowly raised a hand. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the sun in the sky gave off an intense light, and a massive golden ray of light descended with a powerful aura. A wave of golden light spread out, and sensing this terrifying divine power, the god palace's god emissaries felt as if they were in icy water. Their bodies uncontrollably trembled, and an intense fear welled up in their hearts. The people standing outside the god palace looked at the massive pillar of light in shock. At that moment, the nearby god palaces sensed something and looked up at the sun in the sky. Zhao Fu absorbed the sun's power with all of his strength, and the round crystal on his forehead gave off golden light and a powerful aura. The metal statue started to crumble, revealing Zhao Fu's body, which gave off holy light. The surroundings became calm again. Zhao Fu gave a trace of smile. The higher grade sound was indeed useful. However, this metal statue was unable to withstand more divine power, which was why it had crumbled. It was not that Zhao Fu had destroyed it on purpose. Looking at the big man next to him, Zhao Fu said, "Let's go to the higher grade Red God Palace together." The Red God Palace's strength was most likely at the Emperor Heaven Realm, and they were the highest grade palace lords that Zhao Fu could control. If they were higher grade palace lords, Zhao Fu would not be able to easily control them, and they would cause an even greater commotion. Zhao Fu and the big man quickly arrived at the higher-grade Red God Palace. This place was even more luxurious than the Yellow God Palace, and there were even more god emissaries, numbering over 100,000. The auras they gave off were also extremely powerful. The two of them walked to the entrance of the hall. The burly man smiled as he stepped forward and said, "I have something to report to the Red Rank Palace Master." The guard recognized the burly man. He smiled and said, "Yellow Palace Master, follow me." Sure enough, it was much easier to bring the burly man than it was for Zhao Fu to come alone. It was not as troublesome as before, where he had to be interrogated. Following the guard to the main hall, the Red God Palace Lord was a tall, skinny man. He was also bald, and there was a red sun mark on his forehead. He wore a red robe. The man looked at the big man and asked, "Rizzo, what's the matter?" Rizzuo should be the name of this man. Rizhua pretended to be mysterious and said, "I have important news to report to you." The red-robed man asked curiously, "What is it?" Rizhua said, "This is a very important matter. I don't want others to know about it." The red-robed man looked around and said, "We're all on the same side. You can speak." Rizhua said in a mysterious and low voice, "It has to do with the person who made the prophecy." "What?" The red-robed man also looked surprised. Almost everyone in the land of Extreme Yang knew about the prophecy, and many people believed in it. Rizhua did not continue. The red-robed man understood and said, "You can all leave." Hearing this, everyone left and closed the door of the hall. Just from the words of the person who made the prophecy, they understood that this matter was very important. The red-robed man said seriously, "Now that they're all gone, you can speak." Rizhua said with a smile, "The person who made the prophecy has appeared." The red-robed man said seriously, "This matter is extremely important. Don't get wrong. Do you have any proof that the person who made the prophecy has appeared?" Rizhua said with a smile, "Because I've seen the person who made the prophecy with my own eyes." The red-robed man hurriedly said, "Then what kind of person is the person who made the prophecy?" Rizhua said with a smile, "I don't need to describe it. The person beside me is the legendary person who made the prophecy." Hearing this, the red-robed man looked at Zhao Fu, who was beside Rizhua, and looked surprised. Boom! A huge aura surged out of Zhao Fu's body, and countless insects quickly rushed towards the red-robed man. The red-robed man could not react in time, and his body was drowned by the insects. The insects madly rushed into the red-robed man's body, and the red-robed man struggled in pain and screamed. Soon, all the insects rushed into the red-robed man's body, and Zhao Fu successfully controlled the red-robed man. Zhao Fu said with a smile, "Give me the temple master of the Red Rank Shrine." The red-robed man responded, and his body gave off a red light. A red sun mark appeared on his forehead and floated towards Zhao Fu, fusing with Zhao Fu's body. Following this, Zhao Fu asked the red-robed man to take him to the shrine. The statue here was 30 meters tall and was carved from jade. It looked exactly the same as before, and the divine power it gave off was even more powerful. Zhao Fu fused with it and once again absorbed an even greater amount of divine power. The jade statue could not withstand it and shattered. Now, Zhao Fu stayed in the Red Rank Shrine and did not directly go to the Violet Rank Shrine. This was because it was not as easy to control a Violet Rank Shrine's temple master, and he needed to be more careful. After the Violet Rank Shrine was the Golden Rank Shrine, and the most powerful Golden Rank Shrine's temple master was the Sun God Emissary, who controlled the Bright Moon Shrine. Zhao Fu felt that it would be quite soon. After staying here, Zhao Fu asked the red-robed man to collect information on all of the Violet Rank Shrine's temple masters. There should not be too many Violet Rank Shrine's temple masters. Zhao Fu could find a suitable target from these people. A few days later, Zhao Fu found a good target. This person's name was Hyuga, and his strength had reached the peak of the Void Realm. With Zhao Fu's current strength, he could not control him because the difference in cultivation between the two was too great. The reason why Zhao Fu had chosen him was because he was an upright person and wanted to change the situation of his shrine. Zhao Fu felt that he could make good use of this, because Zhao Fu was not only here to obtain 8 days of divine power, but also to usher in a change for the shrine. The reason why he did this was because of his personality. If he obtained their 8 days of divine power, he would help them. On the other hand, if he could obtain 8 days of divine power, he might need their help when he ascended to the sun in the future. Within the violet rank shrine, a dignified middle-aged man sat at the top. He was also bald, and there was a purple sun mark on his forehead. He wore a purple robe, and he gave off a very powerful aura. He was Hyuga, and he was currently reading a letter. Author, I recommend a good book by General Modi. If you like it, you can support it. Chapter 2914, Volume 1. Chapter 354. The letter was written by Zhao Fu, implicitly proposing to reform the lookout and hinting that he has the qualifications and ability to do so. After reading the letter, Hyuga fell into silence. A young man came in and asked doubtfully, "Father, what are you thinking?" He is the son of Hyuga, named Hyuga. Hyuga handed the letter in his hand to Hyuga. Hyuga took the letter and looked at it with a surprised expression. Who is so bold as to reform the lookout? Hyuga said in a deep voice, "I don't know. I just received this letter." Hyuga asked with concern, "Father, what are you going to do?" Hyuga replied, "I have been disgusted with the current lookout for a long time. The current lookout is no longer the lookout that everyone respected, but a tumor in the extreme young lookout. I am also worried about the future of the lookout and have always hoped that one day the lookout can be reformed, but there has never been that opportunity." Hyuga said seriously, "Father, this matter is very important, and it might be life-threatening." Hearing this, Hyuga nodded. "I know this, but this person gives me hope. I want to meet him and see if he has the qualifications and ability. If not, we don't have to participate." Hyuga nodded. Hyuga and Hyuga left the lookout and came to a desert, surrounded by an open space without any shelter. Hyuga glanced around. Didn't that person say to meet here? Why hasn't he arrived yet? Hyuga said, "This matter is very important. It's good to be careful." As soon as his voice fell, a lot of gravel merged together, forming a person wearing a black cloak, exuding a mysterious aura. Zhao Fu looked at the two people in front of him and showed a smile. "Hello, you two." Hyuga asked, "Are you the person who wrote to me?" Zhao Fu nodded with a smile. Hyuga continued, "Then I won't talk nonsense. I want to ask you how to reform the lookout. Do you have that ability and qualification?" Zhao Fu showed a smile. "Then I will let you see if I have the qualifications first." Zhao Fu slowly took off his cloak, revealing the round crystal on his forehead, which emitted a bright divine light. Hyuga and Hyuga were shocked. "You are the prophet?" Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. "Yes, I'm the prophet of your clan. Now do you think I have the qualifications?" Hyuga said with a smile, "You are qualified. Our clan has been waiting for you for countless years, and finally, you appeared." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "You all know what the God Shrine is like now. It has become a tumor. I came to change the God Shrine and revive the Sun Clan, but it's very difficult for me to do this by myself, so I need your help." Hyuga said without thinking, "Son of Prophecy, I promise whatever you want." Hyuga and Hyuga, "Son, I promise I will." I will. Son, Hyuga Fu 2. 2-1, I need to. Zhao Fu said 2, I 1-1-1-2, 1-1-2, not 1 Shin Ga Ga. Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. Zhao now, I also how I Zhao I Fu I also I 6. Hyuga said, "Son of Prophecy, I will give you all the information." Zhao Fu started asking about the other purple-ranked and gold-ranked shrines, as well as information about the sun god. In fact, there were some people who knew about the reform of the temple. Although the number was small, it was still a force. There were several purple-ranked shrines and one gold-ranked shrine. The sun god was quite violent and killed people easily. Because he was strong, no one dared to have any objections. However, there are definitely many people who had grievances, so this was a good opportunity. After hearing about this, Zhao Fu smiled and said, "I'll have to trouble you to privately contact these people. The most important one is that gold-grade god emissary. He's the most important person in my plan, and without him, it'll be quite difficult." Hyuga said with a smile, "Got it." 2 days later, a few men secretly came to a room. There were a total of 4 people. One had a fair appearance and was called Rigu. One was tall and had a calm temperament and was called Rishao. One had a scholarly temperament and was called Riku. And the last one had a mustache and was called Rizhang. Rigu looked at Hyuga and asked, "Why did you call us here?" Hyuga said with a smile, "Wait for a while. Another lord is coming." Hearing this, the 4 people sat on the chairs and waited. 10 minutes later, a handsome man who gave off a powerful aura walked in from a door. When the 4 people saw this man, they quickly bowed. "Greetings, gold-ranked temple lord." His name was Rigu, one of the 5 gold-ranked temple lords. Rigu nodded and walked to the chair in front of him and sat down, saying, "Why are you looking for me?" The others looked at Hyuga. Hyuga said with a smile, "I'm here to discuss the reform of the temple." Hearing this, the others' expressions became solemn. Rigu said, "The reform of the temple is not something that the few of us can do. It's better not to think too much about it, lest we get killed." Rizhang also nodded. "Although we have the heart of reform, we don't have the power to change it." Rizhang also said, "If it's because of this matter, then I'm leaving. I'm not interested in taking a path that is bound to fail." Rigu glanced at Hyuga. "I believe that you won't be so stupid. Since you gathered us together, you should have some confidence. What do you think?" Hyuga looked to the side. "Sir, you can come out now." Everyone looked curiously in that direction and saw a man wearing a cloak walking out. He slowly took off his cloak, revealing his appearance. Seeing the crystal between his eyebrows, Rizhang was shocked. "The prophet?" Rizhang asked in disbelief. "Are you really the prophet?" Zhao Fu nodded with a smile. "I am the prophet's child, and I was the one who asked him to gather all of you together." Rizhang said with some excitement, "You are the prophet's child. In the prophecy, you will lead our Sun clan to prosperity. I am willing to believe and support you." Rizhang said with a smile, "The legendary prophet's child has appeared. I have no reason not to support you." Rigu said with a happy smile, "Our Sun clan has waited for so many years. You are the hope of our clan. No matter what, I will support you and listen to your orders." Rizhang said with a smile, "With him, we can get the support of all the Sun clan. This reform has a chance to succeed for the future of the Sun clan and the temple. I am also willing to listen to you." Zhao Fu said with a smile, "With everyone's support, I believe that this matter will be successful." Hyuga said with a smile, "Prophet's child, I believe that you already have a plan. Why don't you talk about it first?" Zhao Fu nodded. "First of all, the reform requires the highest authority. I want you to become the Sun clan's emissary." Everyone looked at Zhao Fu in surprise. The author recommends a book, Marvel's anime and manga. Chapter 29:15. Book 1. Zhao Fu was stunned. Daytime said, "Right now, the Sun God representative is powerful, and I'm not a match for him. Moreover, no other gold-grade God representative is willing to help me." Zhao Fu said, "Leave this matter to me. You just need to follow my orders." Daytime felt quite confused, but still nodded. The next day, Daytime came before the Sun God representative. This Sun God representative was a ferocious-looking, bald, big man. There was a round crystal that was as big as a fingernail on his forehead that gave off golden light. It was much smaller than the one on Zhao Fu's forehead. His name was Rihao. Rihao asked, "What is it?" Daytime smiled as he said, "It has to do with that prophesied child." Rihao said seriously, "Continue." Daytime said, "I heard that he appeared somewhere, so I immediately came to report to you. You're the Sun God representative, so you should personally welcome him." Rihao coldly laughed. "You're thinking too much. I don't want to submit to anyone. Who cares if he's the prophesied child? If he blocks my path, I'll kill him." Daytime asked, "Then are we still going?" Rihao replied, "Of course we're going." The two of them quickly flew towards a remote area in the sky. Daytime suddenly attacked, punching towards Rihao with shocking power. Rihao blocked the punch with his arm and shouted angrily, "What did you do during the day?" Daytime coldly laughed as he said, "For the future of the Sun God Temple, you must die." Rihao said furiously, "Do you think you're a match for me? I think you're seeking death. Boom! Rihao gave off a powerful aura as he vigorously punched out, and a golden fist giving off golden light shot towards Daytime. Daytime also vigorously punched out, and a golden energy shot towards Rihao. Bang! The two energies collided, resulting in an explosion. A golden shock wave spread out, and Daytime's body was sent flying back. Rihao said with a trace of killing intent, "You won't be able to kill me. I'm going to kill you." Rihao gave off a powerful aura as he rushed towards Daytime. Rihao came before Rihao and once again sent out a powerful punch towards Rihao's chest. Rihao dodged and kicked towards Rihao. Rihao used his arm to block Daytime Agency's kick, while he punched out with his other fist towards Daytime Agency's kick, wanting to break it. Daytime retreated hastily. Rihao's body gave off a golden light, and the light formed a 6-meter-tall Dharma idol that looked like a bald man. It gave off a terrifying golden energy as it punched towards Rijian. Daytime immediately shone with an intense golden light, and a similar Dharma idol was condensed, and it punched towards the other Dharma idol. Bang! A muffled sound rang out as the Fa Xiong was sent flying by a punch. His body was also sent flying as he spat out a mouthful of blood. Rihao's Dharma idol put its palms together, and countless rays of golden light shot out from its back like sharp swords, wanting to cut Rijinja's body into pieces. During the day, he immediately used his Dharma idol to block in front of him. The Dharma idol stretched out its hands and emitted an intense light, forming a huge golden semicircle. Bang! Bang! Deafening explosions sounded out as the rays of golden light landed on the defensive barrier. The terrifying power shattered the defensive barrier, and the rays of golden light landed on Ri-An's Dharma idol, causing it to be covered in wounds. Ri-An, who was hiding behind it, was also slightly injured. Rihao's Dharma idol gave off immense power as it rushed in front of Rihao's Dharma idol and punched the Rihao's Dharma idol's chest, causing it to shatter. Chi! Rihao coughed up a mouthful of blood. Rihao controlled his golden Dharma idol and gave off a powerful aura as it rushed towards Rihao, wanting to kill him on the spot. During the day, Zhao Fu gathered all of his power above his head, and a golden sun mark appeared, shooting forwards with immense power. Bang! The golden sun mark sent Rihao's Dharma idol flying back, resulting in a muffled explosion. Rihao immediately rushed towards Rihao, and Rihao turned and ran. Rihao coldly laughed as he said, "It's too late to run. Even if you kneel down and beg me, it's useless." Boom! A massive wave of power exploded out from Rihao's body. Rihao stretched out his hands, and a pair of massive golden palms appeared by Rihao's side. They gave off immense power as they slammed towards Rihao, seeming to be able to turn boulders into dust. Daytime Horse fell from the sky, narrowly dodging this attack. However, Rihao had long since expected this, and in that instant, he turned into a golden ray of light and smashed into Rihao's body. Bang! Rihao was smashed into the ground, creating a large crater. A massive sound rang out. Rihao smiled as he looked at Rihao. "What did you just say about wanting to kill me for the future of the Tomorrow God Temple? Just what is your goal? Tell me, and I'll let you die faster." Rihao coldly harumphed. "You've done evil for so many years and are not fit to be the great Re-God emissary. The Tomorrow God Temple will be destroyed by your hands sooner or later." Rihao loudly laughed as he said, "The Tomorrow God Temple will only become powerful under my leadership. How could it be destroyed by my hands? It seems to me that you want to die." Rihao said coldly, "Don't be happy too early. I believe that sooner or later, someone will appear to kill you and lead the Tomorrow God Temple to become powerful again." Rihao laughed as he said, "Even if that day comes, you won't be able to see it." Boom! Rihao brought with him a massive wave of power as he rushed towards Rihao. Rihao was currently heavily injured and could not resist Rihao. Rihao quickly rushed in front of Rihao and punched towards Rihao's head with shocking power, wanting to smash Rihao's head like a watermelon. At that moment, swish! An air-tearing sound rang out as a spear tore through the air, bringing with it the power to kill godly spirits. There was nothing blocking it as it pierced through Rihao's body. Rihao's expression froze. Blood splattered everywhere as Rihao's corpse powerlessly fell to the ground, pressing down on Rihao's body. Rihao felt that Rihao did not have any signs of life and inwardly let out a sigh of relief. Rihao was finally dead. However, that spear was simply too terrifying. Even a higher being would be heavily injured if they were not careful. Zhao Fu smiled as he walked over and asked, "Are you all right?" Rihao's corpse was pushed away as Rihao said, "I'm fine. I'm just curious about your identity. You actually have such a terrifying thing. If you want to kill me, I won't be able to resist at all." Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, "Since I dared to meet you all by myself, I naturally have the confidence. Moreover, we have the same goal and won't become opponents." Author, recommending a good book, summoning a skeleton at the start. If you like it, please support it. Chapter 2916. Book 1, Chapter 356. Zhao Fu had just used the Sorcerer's Soul Destruction Spear, which could ignore defense and heavily injure a higher being. Killing a half-step higher being like Rihao would be much easier. However, to be safe, Zhao Fu fought with Rihao while he hid and waited for a suitable opportunity to attack. It was a pity that the Sorcerer's Soul Destruction Spear could only be used once. If he could use it many times, it would be of great help to his future plans. Looking at Rihao's corpse, Zhao Fu said to Ri Jian, "I will now give you the identity of a sun god representative and help you break through to the higher being realm." Ri Jian asked in shock, "You have such an ability?" Zhao Fu gave a slight smile. "Of course, stand where you are." Ri Jian smiled and stood where he was. He could not help but look forward to it. He had never thought that he would become a sun god representative one day. The crystal on Zhao Fu's forehead gave off a golden light that covered Rihao's corpse. Rihao's corpse started to turn illusory before turning into a golden image. The image slowly merged, forming an orb of light that gave off an extremely terrifying power. Zhao Fu stretched out his hand and pushed, causing the orb of light to fly into Daytime's body. A massive wave of power exploded out from Daytime's body as golden light shot out from his forehead, and a round crystal that was as big as a fingernail appeared. What Ri Jian did not expect was the powerful god power that flowed out from his body. He had reached the peak of the Tao realm and felt that he was about to break through, so he sat cross-legged on the ground and focused on cultivating. Zhao Fu stood by the side to protect him. A few days later, heaven and earth power gathered and countless golden beams of light descended from the sky, covering a few regions and a massive ripple spread out. The experts in the extreme Yang region sensed this ripple and understood that someone had broken through to the higher being realm. Zhao Fu smiled as he looked at Ri Jian, who was covered by many beams of light. His cultivation had broken through to the higher being realm, and the abnormal signs were caused by him. Ri Jian stabilized his cultivation and slowly opened his eyes. The abnormal signs around him disappeared. After feeling the immense power in his body, Ri Jian stood up with a face full of smiles. He walked up to Lord Zhao Fu and bowed respectfully in gratitude. "Thank you, Prophet." Previously, he was willing to listen to Zhao Fu's various orders for the future of the Eighth Sun Divine Hall. Now, he truly submitted to Zhao Fu. He also believed that Zhao Fu had the ability to change the Eighth Sun Divine Hall and lead it to glory. The prophecy was not wrong at all. Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. "Now that you become a higher being and a sun god emissary, you have 2 gold-grade god shrines. You still have 4 gold-grade god shrines left, so it's time to deal with them." Ri Jian smiled as he said, "I understand. I'll go to the sun god temple first and control Rihao's faction." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. Daytime returned to his faction and brought all of his experts to the Sun God faction. When the people from the Sun God faction saw the crystal on Daytime's forehead and the powerful aura it gave off, they looked incredibly shocked. Since when did daytime become a sun god emissary? And his cultivation has reached the higher being realm? Some people understood that Rihao had most likely met with misfortune, or else daytime would not have become a sun god emissary. Some people lowered their heads and did not say anything, submitting to Rihao. Some people wanted to run whenever there was trouble, and they evidently did not want to submit to daytime. However, just as they wanted to run, they were captured by daytime's subordinates and brought to daytime. A bald, muscular man furiously called out, "How did daytime become a sun god emissary? Where's Lord Rihao?" Daytime smiled as he said, "I've already killed Rihao, and I'm now the sun god emissary of the sun god temple. Rihao has done many evil things, so he deserves retribution. Don't worry, I definitely won't be like Rihao. If you submit to me, I'll reward you. Otherwise, you can die." Hearing this, Rihao died. The sun god emissaries all belonged to daytime, so they did not hesitate and knelt on the ground to express their willingness to submit to daytime. The muscular man and some others furiously cursed at daytime, "Bastard! Dog! We're going to take revenge for Lord Rihao." Daytime gave the order to kill these people, and their corpses were thrown in front of the sun god temple. This formless pressure made it so that no one dared to resist. Daytime easily devoured Rihao's faction and then sent people to invite the remaining 4 gold-grade god temple's palace lords. The other 4 had already heard about this, and they looked incredibly shocked. They had never thought that Daytime would suddenly kill Rihao and become the new sun god emissary. Their cultivation had also reached the higher being realm. There were 2 things that were suspicious. The first was that with Daytime's strength, could he only kill Rihao? The second was that Daytime's cultivation had broken through to the higher being realm in just a few days. The ripples from before had most likely come from Daytime. Now that Daytime had called the 4 of them over, there was definitely some sort of plot. Would they still go over? In the end, 3 gold-grade palace lords decided not to go, and only 1 gold-grade palace lord felt quite fearful and came to the sun god temple. This gold-grade palace lord was quite short and was called Reba. Daytime looked at Reba and smiled as he said, "Even though you came by yourself, it's not bad." Reba asked somewhat nervously, "Why did you call me over?" Daytime smiled as he said, "I want you to submit to me and hand over control of your faction." Reba's face was pale. He had never thought that Daytime would be so direct. He asked, "Do I have the right to refuse?" Daytime smiled as he said, "No, the 8th Sun Temple is about to welcome a revolution. I advise you to be more obedient. Your status will not change, or else you will die like the other gold-grade palace lords." Reba asked curiously, "What revolution?" Daytime said mysteriously, "The person who prophesied wants to reform the 8th Sun Temple and lead our clan to glory." "What? The person who prophesied appeared?" Reba cried out in shock. Daytime lightly smiled as he nodded. "Actually, he was the one who killed Rihao, and I broke through to the higher being realm with his help." Reba had a shocked expression as he said, "So that's how it is. I was quite curious as to how you could kill Rihao and break through to the higher being realm." Daytime looked at Reba and said, "Are you willing to submit to me now? Or more accurately, submit to the person who prophesied?" Reba thought for a moment before saying, "I can't agree." Daytime nodded in satisfaction. Reba then asked, "The other 3 palace lords did not come. How do you plan to deal with them?" Daytime's eyes revealed a trace of coldness as he said, "I'll give them a bit more time. If they don't come, I'll treat them as rebels and personally lead troops to suppress them." Reba said, "Aren't you going to tell them about the person who prophesied?" Chapter 29:17. Book 1, Chapter 357. Prophecy. Daytime replied, "Right now, the matter of the prophet is still a secret and cannot be revealed, or else it will be detrimental to our plans. Moreover, I don't think the other 3 palace lords will be easy to control." Ri Ming nodded. Following this, Daytime gave another order for the remaining 3 palace lords to come to the Sun God Palace, or else they would be treated as traitors. Just as Daytime had expected, The three palace lords were not easy to control and were not willing to submit to him. Daytime did not waste any time and immediately gathered a large number of soldiers and announced that the three gold grade god palaces were traitors. The factions that belonged to the three gold grade god palaces were to immediately leave the three gold grade god palaces, or else they would become traitors of the sun god palace. The three gold grade god palaces looked quite serious. They did not want things to turn out like this, but they had no other choice. They could only gather their own forces and defend. Some of the factions that belonged to the three gold grade god halls chose to support the three gold grade god halls, while others chose to leave the three gold grade god halls. After all, the sun god emissaries were the true gold grade god halls, so they should follow the sun god hall. There were still some people who didn't make any declarations. They wanted to see who would win this battle, and whoever won would submit to that side. News of this quickly spread, and the other god palace's people were all shocked. The sun god palace had actually started an internal conflict, and they paid great attention to this battle. The battle between the sun god emissaries and the three gold grade god palace lords soon began. During the day, the gold grade god emissaries devoured Rihao's faction. Rihao was the most powerful faction, and with Riwu's faction, they had the advantage. On the battlefield, the two sides started a fight. During the day, the god emissaries attacked incredibly ferociously, rushing forwards like a ferocious golden flood. The three gold grade god emissaries defended like a golden flood and did not take the initiative to attack because the difference in numbers was simply too great. Boom, boom, boom. The three gold grade god emissaries gathered their power, and rays of golden light containing immense power shot down from the sky towards the day army below. The sounds shook the surroundings. On the side of the daytime army, they immediately gathered their divine power and released a defensive barrier, blocking the golden beams of light that shot over. The three gold grade god emissaries gathered their power, forming a golden sun in the sky that gave off a powerful golden ripple as it attacked towards the day army. The day army covered their defensive barrier and forcefully resisted the golden ripple as they charged forwards. After the army charged to a certain distance, the god emissaries gave off intense golden light and leapt into the air, descending towards the three gold rank armies and launching the first wave of attacks. The divine emissaries that fell into the three gold shrines immediately started fighting with the divine emissaries of the other three shrines, causing some chaos in the three shrines' armies. The daytime armies also started to attack. Both sides were emitting golden light as they fought intensely. One god's emissary punched another god's emissary and sent him flying. Another god's emissary leaped forward and kicked another god's emissary away. Another god's emissary wielded a golden saber and forcefully chopped another god's emissary's body in half. Another divine emissary's body emitted a strong light as he punched another divine emissary's chest. Another divine emissary wielded a sword as he charged at another divine emissary and chopped off his arm. Another divine emissary angrily roared as he slashed at another divine emissary with his golden blade. Another the battle in the sky also started. The weakest of the people fighting in the sky were purple grade palace lords. Similarly, the day army had many people, and the situation was disadvantageous to the three god halls. The day army was fighting with two palace lords, while the other palace lord was being held up by Reba. Boom, boom. The two palace lords gave off intense golden light, and they were like two rays of golden light that shot towards the day army from the left and right. The day army coldly harumphed and gave off powerful divine power as a basketball-sized golden orb of light appeared above his head. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the golden orb of light exploded, and a massive golden energy spread out, sending the two palace lords flying back. The two palace lords were sent flying back and coughed up a mouthful of blood, and their expressions were quite unsightly. Before, they had been able to fight to a draw with the day army, but now, the day army's power had reached the higher being realm. The Day army immediately rushed at the other palace lord and punched out, and a golden fist turned into a golden python that ferociously shot towards the palace lord. The palace lord blocked with his hands, which gave off an intense golden light, but he was still sent flying by the punch. The other palace lord hurriedly attacked the Day army, punching out with all of his strength. An enormous golden fist containing terrifying power quickly flew towards the Day army. The Day army's body flashed, dodging this attack, and he quickly rushed towards the palace lord. The palace lord understood that he was not a match for the Day army, so he hurriedly tried to run. However, the Day army still caught up to him. The Day army's body gave off an intense light, which turned into 4 golden pythons that shot out like lightning and bit the palace lord's limbs, causing the palace lord to desperately struggle. Chi! The Day army's claw pierced through the palace lord's chest, killing him. He tossed aside his corpse and immediately rushed at the other palace lord. The palace lord's expression was quite unsightly. His body was already quite heavily injured, and seeing the Day army charge over, he immediately turned and ran. He understood that they no longer had any hope in this battle. Boom! Seeing the palace lord run, the Day army exploded out with all of his power and shot forwards like a bolt of lightning. He grabbed the palace lord's throat and lifted him up. The palace lord desperately struggled, kicking out with his legs. The Day army's expression was cold as he twisted his hand and broke the palace lord's throat. Of the 3 palace lords, only 1 palace lord remained. He had personally seen 2 palace lords being killed, and an expression of terror appeared on his face. He understood that he could not escape even if he wanted to. The Day army laughed as he said, "If you surrender now, I can beg the Day army to spare your life. You know that you've lost for sure." Hearing this, the palace lord thought about it before nodding and agreeing. "I'm willing to surrender." The battle on the ground was about to end, and the 3 god hall's armies had been completely defeated. The god emissaries had either been killed or had fled in terror. As the last palace lord surrendered, they immediately knelt on the ground and expressed their willingness to surrender. In just a few days, the Day army had resolved this internal conflict and obtained complete control over the Morning Sun God Hall. His authority had reached its peak. Chapter 29:18. Book 1, Chapter 358. Within the secret room, Zhao Fu sat at the top while Ri Jian and Ri Wu stood below him. Ri Yu and Ri Wu came here and saw that a higher being, who was a sun god emissary of the temple, was so respectful to a person. They were very shocked. Ri Wu thought of something and guessed Zhao Fu's identity. Ri Jian smiled and introduced, "He is the son of God, the one who prophesied in the legends. The 2 of you, come forward and greet him." Because it was inconvenient to always call Zhao Fu the son of God, Ri Jian called Zhao Fu the son of God. Ri Jian, who had just joined, was shocked. He hadn't thought that the prophesied person would really appear and in front of him at that. His previous suspicions could be explained now. The 2 immediately bowed. Zhao Fu smiled and said, "No need to be so polite." Ri Jian reported, "Son of God, now that I've unified the Bright Sun God Temple, what should we do next?" Zhao Fu said with a smile, "We'll first stabilize the Bright Sun God Temple's forces and then gather information about the other God Temples. Our final goal is to unify the 8 God Temples and reform them from top to bottom." Ri Jian said hotly, "I've waited for this day for many years. Son of God, I believe that you will succeed." Zhao Fu nodded. Originally, there were 8 divine halls, but now there were 7 left. 2 of them were the strongest, the Vast Sun Divine Hall and the Sky Sun Divine Hall. They were just too powerful, so they had to be left behind to deal with. There were 3 weaker God Temples that were similar to the Bright Sun God Temple. They were the Bright Sun God Temple, the Great Sun God Temple, and the Flaming Sun God Temple. The Flaming Sun God Temple was the weakest. Right now, Zhao Fu and the others were discussing how to deal with the Flaming Sun God Temple. The Sun God emissary of the Flaming Sun God Temple was called Sun Bull. He was honest and mellow, and although he was the weakest, The people living in the Flaming Sun God Temple were in the best situation compared to the other God Temples. However, there were still some problems. Zhao Fu planned to rope and Sun Bull as much as possible and not use force to annex the Flaming Sun God Temple. After some discussion, Zhao Fu decided to head to the Flaming Sun Divine Hall with Ri Jian and see if he could convince the Sun Bull to submit. In the Flaming Sun Divine Hall, a brawny, honest-looking man had a puzzled look on his face. He just killed Ri Hao today, became a Sun God envoy, and started a civil war. Why would he want to see me? I don't like people like that. A beautiful woman in a palace dress next to him asked, "What is it?" She was Sun Nyo Da's wife, and her name was Sun Ling due to her legend. The women of Flaming Sun Divine Hall were in a slightly better situation. Sun Nyo said, "I don't like him and I don't really want to see him." Sun Spirit thought for a moment and said, "He came to see you right after the Civil War. There must be something important. Plus, he's a powerful being now, and he controls all the military forces of the Bright Sun Temple. I think it's better to meet him." Sun Nyo said, "All right." Rinyo ordered for Ri Ju to come in. During the day, Sun Nyo and Zhao Fu arrived at the Untainted Temple. Sun Nyo immediately asked, "What's the matter?" Ri Ju looked around and said with a smile, "I have something to discuss with you in detail. Those who are not involved, please leave." Sun Nyo frowned. He didn't want to see Ri Ju at first, but now Ri Ju was acting like this. Sun Spirit said, "All of you are dismissed." Hearing this, the guards left the Untainted Temple. Sun Nyo looked at his wife. Sun Spirit said, "I feel that he really has something important to talk to you about." Sun Nyo looked at Ri Ju and said, "Speak. What business do you have with me?" Ri Ju said with a trace of respect, "I'm not the one who's looking for you, but this person." Sun Nyo and Sun Spirit looked at Zhao Fu curiously. Who was this person? Why was Ri Ju so respectful? Zhao Fu slowly took off his cloak and revealed his appearance. Sun Nyo and Sun Spirit looked at the crystal on Zhao Fu's forehead and revealed shocked expressions. "You're the one who prophesied in the legends." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. Sun Spirit said seriously, "Killing Ri Hao during the day, activating his internal organs, and unifying the Sun God Shrine were all under your orders." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "That's right. I personally killed Ri Hao. I came to the Sun Clan for the future of the Sun Clan and for the revival of the Sun Clan." Sun Spirit said with a look of shock, "We didn't expect that the prophesied person would really appear." Sun Nyo looked at Zhao Fu and asked, "What business do you have with us?" Zhao Fu said confidently, "I want you to submit to me." Sun Nyo said without even thinking, "No, don't think that I will submit to you just because you're the prophesied person." Zhao Fu was not surprised. "Aren't you thinking about the future of the Sun God Shrine? Only under my leadership can you become strong again. Otherwise, the only outcome for the Sun Clan is destruction." Sun Nyo started to hesitate. Sun Spirit also started to think. Zhao Fu continued, "I know that your cultivation is just a bit away from breaking through to become a higher being. I can help you with this." Hearing this, Sun Nyo felt quite tempted. He had been stuck at this cultivation for many years and had not had the opportunity to break through. He asked, "Do you really have the ability?" Ri Hao smiled as he said, "My cultivation broke through with the help of the Son of God." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "I have the ability to raise my cultivation to the higher being realm and also the ability to kill higher beings. You can choose one." Sun Nyo's expression became cold, and he felt that Zhao Fu was threatening him. From the looks of it, Zhao Fu had the ability to do so. Moreover, Ri Hao is indeed in the higher being realm. Sun Spirit said, "Husband, I think it's best that you agree. I think it's better to agree to him. Submitting to him is also for the sake of the Ri clan. You can also reap great benefits." Ri Hao died at his hands, and I don't think he's lying. Sun Nyo thought about it and asked, "Can I ask you a question?" Zhao Fu said, "Go ahead." Sun Nyo looked at Zhao Fu and said seriously, "I want you to become the controller of the 8th Sun God Temple. What will you do?" Zhao Fu said resolutely, "I will reform the 8th Sun God Temple and change the Sun Clan's current situation." The Eight Sun God Temple is already a tumor of the extreme Yang region and is no longer the Eight Sun God Temple that countless people respected and worshipped. Sun Yo nodded. All right, I'll believe you this once. I'm willing to submit to you. Zhao Fu gave a satisfied smile. Rihao smiled as he said, Sun Yo, don't worry. You will rejoice at your choice today. The Son of God will definitely lead our Sun clan to glory. Sun Spirit did not say anything. She did not fully believe that Zhao Fu had the ability to do so. Sun Yo asked, how are you going to help me become a higher being? Zhao Fu smiled as he said, bring me to the temple. Sun Yo felt quite strange, but still brought Zhao Fu to the temple. This was the Sun God representative's temple, and the statue there was the tallest. Chapter 29:19. Book 1, Chapter 359. Divine Light. This statue was 1,000 meters tall and was made of pure gold. It looked like a skinny man with a few inches of hair. It looked different from the previous statues because this was the Flaming Sun God Hall, and this statue was the original Flaming Sun God. The statue gave off Flaming Sun God power, which was the purest divine power that the Flaming Sun God Hall had. If one wanted even pure divine power, they would have to ascend to the sun. Zhao Fu did not absorb sun power like before because the abnormal signs were too great. This time, Zhao Fu planned to use this method to help the Sun Bull break through to the higher being realm, and he could pretend that the abnormal signs were caused by the Sun Bull. Zhao Fu's great sun god statue did not absorb sun power like before because the abnormal signs were too great. Zhao Fu said, stand under the statue. Everyone else, stay away from the statue. Hearing this, Sun Bull came under the statue, and Sun Spirit and the others retreated, staying away from the statue. The round crystal between Zhao Fu's eyebrows gave off many rays of light as Zhao Fu's body floated up and flew towards the statue, fusing into it. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the statue seemed to come to life and gave off a massive aura. Sensing this aura, everyone froze where they stood and felt terror in their hearts. Boom! An even louder explosion sounded out in the sky, shaking the surroundings. A sun gave off intense light that was many times brighter than the other suns. At that moment, the other sun god emissaries sensed these ripples and looked up at the sky, looking quite shocked. The statue looked up at the sky, and countless rays of golden light shot out from its eyebrows. A vast amount of divine power spread out and enveloped the entire area. An enormous golden orb of light slowly descended from the sky, giving off blinding light that made it difficult for countless people to open their eyes. It also gave off an incredibly hot power that seemed to be able to instantly melt steel, making it seem quite terrifying. The statue slowly descended above the Flaming Sun God Hall, and everyone felt this terrifying heat. Their bodies broke out in sweat as large amounts of water evaporated from their bodies. The statue lowered its head and looked at Sun Bull below as it stretched out a finger. The gigantic golden orb of light continued to sink down and fused into Sun Yo's body. Sun Yo felt an immense power enter his body, and the barrier that was blocking his cultivation was instantly destroyed. A terrifying power that belonged to a higher being spread out from his body. Boom! Heaven and earth power quickly gathered and flooded into Sun Bull's body, causing it to give off countless rays of golden light. Roar! A massive roar sounded out as an enormous golden bull appeared in the sky, giving off a world-shaking aura. This golden bull was the abnormal signs caused by Sun Bull. The other sun god envoys revealed shocked expressions. How come someone had broken through to the almighty realm in just a few days? Even though they did not know what was going on, they could sense that something big was happening. The golden bull disappeared from the sky, and the golden orb of sun, and the golden orb of the sky, and the golden orb of light appeared. The sun of sun, and the golden orb of beasts, and the flaming sun god. Zhao Fu also flew out from the statue. Sun Spirit looked at Zhao Fu and thought to himself, This person's power is not ordinary. He can actually help others become higher beings. Sun Bull came before Zhao Fu and said gratefully, "Thank you, Godchild." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. The few of them then returned to the temple. Sun Bull chuckled and said, "Godchild, what should we do next? I believe that you can bring the Sun clan back to glory." Before, Sun Bull and Sun Spirit did not believe this prophecy. They did not know if the person who made the prophecy was as powerful as the rumors said, but after experiencing the massive benefits, they believed Zhao Fu and were willing to support him. Zhao Fu said, "Wait a few days and wait for my orders. We'll be leaving first." Sun Bull smiled as he said, Godchild, why don't you stay a bit longer? I can take care of Godchild." Zhao Fu smiled and said, "There's no need for that. There are still many people who do not know of my existence. This is one of my advantages. After unifying the 8 Sun God temples, we can celebrate." Sun Bull chuckled and said, "All right." Zhao Fu and Ri Jian left the Flaming Sun God Temple. On the way, Ri Jian smiled and said, "Congratulations, Godchild. Now that we have taken care of the Flaming Sun God Temple, there are only 6 temples left. I believe that Godchild will soon be able to control 8 temples." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded as he said, "After we go back, we'll have to research the remaining 6 God temples and find a good target to deal with." Ri Jian nodded. Of course, their next target would be the weaker temples. After a few days of consideration, Zhao Fu and Ri Jian decided to act against the Light Sun God Temple. The Light Sun God Temple's sunlight envoy was called Ri Long. He was extremely lecherous and licentious. He forcibly recruited countless women from his forces for his and the God envoy's pleasure. The women there were of the lowest status. They could be abused or killed as they pleased. They were not treated as people at all. Recently, it was said that a woman had angered him. He ordered several hundred God envoys to torture that woman to death. Her corpse was hung outside the temple as a warning to others. Rilong's cultivation was just a step away from breaking through to the Almighty Realm. He had 6 gold rank hall masters under his command. Zhao Fu did not plan on subduing this person. He felt that he could not subdue him. Therefore, Zhao Fu planned to kill him. If only Zhao Fu still had the martial soul destruction spear, it would be easy to take care of Rilong. Unfortunately, it could only be used once. However, Zhao Fu had an alternative, which was to have Ri Jian and Rinyo ambush Rilong. The 2 temples would attack the Light Sun God Temple together and take down the Light Sun God Temple as quickly as possible. In the long history of the 8th Sun God Temple, there have been many internal conflicts and power changes. However, there were very few conflicts between factions. This was because they all belonged to different factions and had different powers. Very few people had 2 types of God powers, and they usually did things their own way. This was a very good advantage. The Light Sun God Temple definitely would not think that 2 temples would join hands to attack them. They could catch them off guard. Zhao Fu told Rinyo to come to the Light Sun God Temple and asked, "How strong is that Rilong? I believe that the 2 of you should be able to easily deal with him, right?" Rinyo smiled and said, "Back then, he was only slightly stronger than me. However, I've already broken through to the Almighty Realm. With my strength, I can defeat him. If there's another Almighty, I believe that he won't have a chance to escape. We can kill him on the spot." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. "It won't be easy to act in the temple. I'll think of a way to lure him out. The 2 of you just need to listen to my orders and hide somewhere." Ri Jian and Ri Long smiled and nodded. Chapter 29-20. Book 1, Book 3, Chapter 360. Many insects came out of Zhao Fu's body and fused together, turning into a peerlessly beautiful woman who looked somewhat like Zhao Fu. She was now just a puppet and did not have life or thoughts. However, now that Zhao Fu had the 8 forbidden blood art, he could give her life and soul, but Zhao Fu did not want to do this. After his consciousness entered this body, Zhao Fu took control of this body. Zhao Fu controlled this body and came to the Light Sun God Palace's territory. With the body's beauty, he immediately attracted the gazes of countless God emissaries. The god emissaries looked at the body that Zhao Fu controlled and did not hide their intentions at all. Here, women were lowly creatures for them to play with. A large group of god emissaries surrounded Zhao Fu and lewdly laughed. "Beauty, come and play with us." Zhao Fu gave an enchanting smile as he said, "Sure." Hearing this, the god emissaries felt quite surprised and did not hold back as they walked over to Zhao Fu. Arg! Pain cries sounded out as in that moment. Many insect limbs grew out of Zhao Fu's body and pierced through the god emissaries' chests, causing blood to spurt out. Zhao Fu put away the insect limbs, and the insect limbs returned to Zhao Fu's body. He looked at the remaining god emissaries and said, "You scum still want to touch me? You're simply seeking death. Also, that trash god emissary of yours. I'll kill him sooner or later and feed him to the dogs." The remaining god emissaries' faces became pale, and they quickly ran away in fear. Within the Light Sun God Palace, Rilong was hugging many beauties. At that moment, a god emissary came and reported, "God emissary of Sun, we've discovered a peerlessly beautiful woman in a nearby region." "Oh, why aren't you bringing her to me?" Rilong said with some interest. The god emissary said carefully, "That woman is very powerful and does not place God emissary of Sun in her eyes at all. She said that she'll kill you sooner or later and feed you to the dogs." Rilong was infuriated and waved his hand. His arm turned into a golden saber and cut the beauties beside him in half, causing blood to splatter everywhere. The remaining beauties turned pale and did not dare to move. Their hearts were filled with fear. Rilong said coldly, "Where is she? I'm going to catch her myself, chop off her limbs, and play with her until she's a cripple." The divine emissary said in fear, "She's at the south side of the Sun God Temple. I'll take you there immediately." After coming to that place, Rilong looked at the corpses on the ground and did not say anything. He sensed his surroundings and coldly laughed as he said, "You want to run? Dream on." Rilong's body immediately disappeared and appeared on a piece of barren land, looking at the peerlessly beautiful woman in front of him. Rilong was a little surprised. He didn't expect this woman to be so beautiful. He was very moved. Originally, Rilong wanted to catch her and then throw her away, but now he changed his mind. Rilong smiled and said, "Beauty, come and serve me, and I'll forget about what happened before. Otherwise, you'll die a horrible death. As long as you're willing to serve me, I can give you anything you want." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Can I take your life?" Rilong lightly laughed as he said, "You don't have the ability to take it. Since you won't listen to me, you ask for it." Boom! Rilong stretched out a hand, and a massive formless hand grabbed toward Zhao Fu. Rilong did not place Zhao Fu in his eyes at all, because he could sense that Zhao Fu was only at the Emperor Heaven Realm. With his strength, he could easily kill him. Zhao Fu did not move and did not show any signs of running. Just as the formless hand was about to grab Zhao Fu, boom, an extremely terrifying fist energy turned into a golden bull that ferociously smashed towards Rilong from behind, seeming to be able to blast open a large hole in space. Rilong was given a big fright and hurriedly defended as his body gave off golden light. Bang! A massive sound rang out as Rilong was sent flying and coughed up a large mouthful of blood. Rilong looked at the bull furiously and called out, "Sun Bull, there isn't much enmity between us. Why did you sneak attack me?" Just as he finished speaking, a figure appeared behind him and punched out with a powerful golden energy towards Rilong. This time, Rilong was caught off guard and was sent flying before heavily crashing to the ground. Rilong's expression was quite unsightly as he looked at Rilong. He did not say anything and turned to run. The Re-Dragon coldly laughed and vigorously slapped out with his palm, sending out a massive golden palm towards the Re-Dragon with immense force. Rilong was unable to defend and could only choose to quickly dodge. However, just as he dodged this attack, another figure appeared beside him and kicked out, hitting Rilong's waist. Rilong's body flew out and crashed into a massive boulder, shattering it. Rilong once again coughed up a mouthful of blood. Looking at Rilong, he understood that he could not escape and said furiously, Why did you attack me? Rilong laughed as he said, because your actions have caused the godchild to loathe you. You no longer have the right to be the sun god representative, so you must die today. Rilong asked, who is the godchild? The peerlessly beautiful woman's body turned into many insects and gathered back together, forming Zhao Fu's appearance. He smiled as he said, I am the godchild and the person who prophesied in the legends. Rilong said in shock, so there really is a person who prophesied, before saying, I'm willing to submit to you. Please don't kill me. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, I already said that I would kill you. Rilong looked furious as he yelled, then I'll have to fight you. Boom! A massive wave of sun power spread out from Rilong's body, and his body quickly grew. His body started to become transparent before turning into a 10 or so meter tall golden image that gave off immense power. Rinyo and Rilong looked quite calm as they turned into rays of light and flew towards Rilong. The two sides started to fight. On the other side, Zhao Fu's main body was commanding the armies of the two god halls to attack the Light Sun God Hall from two different directions. The Light Sun God Hall was currently in chaos. Because the Sun God representative was not present, the Light Sun God Hall did not have a commander. In the end, a few gold-grade palace lords came out and organized forces to defend against the two god halls. They also sent people to find Rilong. The Sun God representatives of the other god halls looked quite confused. They had never thought that such a thing would happen. Normally, god halls and god halls would mind their own business, so why were they attacking each other? Moreover, why were two god halls working together to attack one god hall? Before, everyone had sensed that something had happened and had never thought that it would be so serious. If they did not do anything, the flames of war would definitely spread to them. As such, they immediately sent people to investigate what had happened between the three factions. Chapter 29-21 Book 1 361 The two God Hall's armies started to fight with the Light Sun God Hall's army. The Light Sun God Hall's army was at a disadvantage and could not defend against the two God Hall's ferocious attacks. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as Ri Jian slapped out with his hand, causing a massive golden palm to give off a suppressive aura as it pressed the Sun Dragon's massive golden Dharma image into the ground. The Sun Dragon desperately struggled. Ri Jian gave a trace of a smile and said, This is the power of higher beings. You're not a match for me. Ri Jian pressed down with his hand, and the massive golden palm pressed down as well. The massive power caused the ground to crack and open a large crater, and the Sun Dragon coughed up a mouthful of blood. Ark! The Sun Dragon roared and exploded out with all of his power. His body gave off an intense golden light as he forcefully raised the massive golden palm. Roar! Ri Jian's fists gave off immense power as he punched out, and the two rays of energy shot towards the Sun Dragon like two rays of golden light. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the Sun Dragon was sent flying far away, and the light from his body dimmed. It seemed that he had been heavily injured. Ri Jian raised a hand, and the surrounding heaven and earth power quickly gathered as a sun in the sky gave off intense golden light. A massive golden ray of light turned into a golden sword of light that gave off enough power to pierce through everything as it shot down. The Sun Dragon blocked with his hands, and a large amount of light came out of his hands, forming a golden semicircle. When the golden greatsword struck the golden semicircle cover, a terrifying shockwave spread out, forming a gust of wind that blew outwards. Ri Jian smiled as he vigorously pressed down with his hand. Boom! The golden sword of light became even more ferocious and pierced through the golden semicircle, piercing through the Sun Dragon's golden Dharma image and nailing it to the ground. The sword of light disappeared, and the golden Dharma image also disappeared, turning back into the Sun Dragon's body. Blood flowed out of his mouth, and his aura became incredibly weak. Zhao Fu came to his side, and the Sun Dragon hatefully looked at Zhao Fu, wanting to cut Zhao Fu into 1,000 pieces. Zhao Fu did not care. With a wave of his hand, a sword light slashed out and cut off the Ri Dragon's head. The two shrines' armies had already broken into the Light Sun Shrine, successfully taking control of the entire shrine. Many women and those who had surrendered stood nervously in front of the shrine. Although the Light Sun Shrine that had abused and humiliated them had been conquered, the women were not happy. They did not know what the two shrines would do to them. They could only hope that they were not as scary as the Light Sun Shrine. Otherwise, their fates would be even more miserable. At that moment, Eternal Time walked in front of everyone and called out, "Women, you're all free now. You can leave the Light Sun God Temple and go anywhere you want. You can also collect some resources and leave." Hearing this, the expressions of the worried women froze, unable to react. A woman asked in disbelief, "Sir, can you say it again?" Eternal Day smiled and said, "I said you can leave. You can go wherever you want, and you can collect some supplies before leaving." The women all let out sighs of relief, feeling quite weak. Some happily smiled, some looked emotional, and some laughed while crying. "Thank you, my lord," all the women said gratefully. Only now did the women confirm that these people were good people who had come to save them, and they felt incredibly grateful. Eternal Time smiled and said, "You can all leave. Right now, Zhao Fu's identity could not be revealed, and Eternal Time could not say that Zhao Fu had released them and given them resources to leave." The women left after sacrificing themselves, leaving behind those who had surrendered. They still felt quite nervous and did not know if they could leave like the women. Eternal Time looked at them, and his gaze became cold as he said, "Kill those who have done all sorts of evil." Yes, some god emissaries went up to carry out the order and started to kill those who had done all sorts of evil. Those who had not done anything serious could live. Zhao Fu and Rinyo went to the Light Sun God Temple during the day. The Light Sun God Temple originally had 7 Golden Palace emissaries, but 4 of them had died and 3 had escaped. Zhao Fu had planned to help one of them break through to become a higher being. He could not waste Rilong's corpse. Because it was a different sun's power, Zhao Fu could not fuse the corpse with the other 2 factions. As such, he could only find other expert from the Light Sun God Temple, preferably someone who could be easily controlled. In the end, he found someone called Ryu, who had been Rilong's older brother. However, because he had offended Rilong, he had been locked up in the dungeon, and his strength had reached the peak of the Tao realm. Zhao Fu called him to the God Temple. Ryu was a big man with a beard, and he came before the 3 of them and bowed. "Greetings, lords." Zhao Fu gave a trace of smile. "I never thought that you would be so sensible. You should know that we killed your younger brother and unified the Light Sun God Temple." Ryu nodded. "I know about that. My younger brother deserved it. I tried to persuade him, but he did not listen and locked me up in the end. I've also heard about your matters, and I'm willing to serve you." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Why?" Ryu said seriously, "I see hope in you and the future of the 8th Sun God Temple." Zhao Fu nodded in satisfaction. "I called you here to subdue you and appoint you as the Sun God representative of the Light Sun God Temple. I'll also help you break through to the higher being realm." Ryu looked quite shocked. He had been prepared to be killed because he was Rilong's older brother. However, not only had he not been killed, but he had also obtained all sorts of benefits. Ryu knelt on one knee and said, "Thank you, Lord." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Get up." Ryu asked curiously, "What is Lord's identity?" Only now did Ryu react. He had never seen or heard of this person before, and the 2 sun god emissaries next to him obeyed him. Ryu was quite curious about Zhao Fu's identity. Ryu said as he smiled, "Didn't you just see hope and the future in us? He's the one who prophesied hope in the future." Ryu looked quite surprised and said in pleasant surprise, "Then I'm even more willing to serve Lord." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "All right, stand there and don't move. I'll help you break through to the higher being realm." As he spoke, a massive golden orb of light floated out of the crystal on Zhao Fu's forehead. This was the power of Rilong's body. Ryu and Rilong were blood-related, so it would be easier for Ryu to absorb this power. Under Zhao Fu's control, the orb of light floated towards the orb of light, and slowly fused into Ryu's body, and a powerful aura spread out. Chapter 29-22. Book 1. Chapter 362. Boom. Ryu exploded out with a golden light that shot into the sky, causing the sky to tremble. A golden wave of light spread out as countless golden motes of light floated down from the sky like a golden rain. This was a phenomenon caused by Sun Yu. The expressions of the other sun god envoys became more and more serious. This was already the third person to break through to the Almighty Realm in a row. What exactly was going on? A few sun god envoys wanted to hold a meeting and ask what had happened to the 3 shrines, so they sent people to invite the sun god envoys of the 3 shrines over. After breaking through to a higher being, Ryu gave a trace of a smile and said gratefully, "Thank you, godchild." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. Everyone started to discuss about the Great Sun Shrine. Out of the 4 weakest shrines, only the Great Sun Shrine was left. If they swallowed it, Zhao Fu would control half of the 8 Sun Shrine. At this time, Zhao Fu also received an invitation from the other oracles. During the day, he looked at Zhao Fu and asked, "Godchild, what should we do now?" Zhao Fu said in a deep voice, "With so many things happening, the other shrines will definitely take action. I will live in your bodies and see what their motives are." Daytime nodded. Zhao Fu's current body was not his main body, but his doppelganger from before. It had turned into 3 1-meter-long blood-colored bugs and burrowed into the 3 people's bodies. With the 3 of them shielding him and Zhao Fu concealing himself, the others should not be able to discover Zhao Fu's existence. Soon after, the 3 of them arrived at the conference hall. There was a golden round table with a golden sun engraved on it, and 5 people were already seated around it. The leader was a strong and dignified golden-haired man. His name was Boundless Sun, and he was the hall master of the vast Sun Divine Hall. A handsome man with long golden hair was called Ri Qing, and he was the hall master of the Heavenly Sun Divine Hall. A short youth was called Ri Ku, and he was the hall master of the Divine Sun Divine Hall. One of them was an ordinary-looking man, the temple lord of the Holy Sun Temple. His name was Reascension. The last one was a tall man named Ri Hu, the temple lord of the Great Sun Temple. The 5 gods' envoys looked at Daytime and the 3 of them who had just arrived at the temple with sullen expressions. Rinyo and the other 2 walked to the table and sat down. Daytime smiled and said, "May I know why you are looking for us?" Limitless Sun said, "I'd like to ask you what's going on. I remember that the 3 of you were originally at the peak of the Tao realm. How did you break through to become powerful beings? Also, why did they start a civil war?" Daytime laughed as he said, "Becoming a higher being is an opportunity for the 3 of us, and we don't want to fight amongst ourselves. It's all because the other side provoked us first. For example, recently, Rilong attacked someone he shouldn't have, so we attacked him. Since there was no evidence now, he could say whatever he wanted during the day." Ryu also said with a smile, "Yes, my brother deserves it." Even though Ri Jian and Ryu said so, the other sun god emissaries didn't believe them. They knew that things weren't that simple. Limitless Sun said in a deep voice, "I don't care what you did before, but the 3 of you must abide by the rules of the 8 Sun Shrine. You are forbidden from attacking other shrines." Daytime agreed readily. "No problem, as long as you don't attack first." Limitless Sun glanced at the others. "What do you all think?" Ri Qing said with a trace of a cold smile, "I'm not interested in attacking other shrines, but the other shrines shouldn't target me either. Otherwise, don't blame me." Ri Qing said calmly, "I'm also not interested in other shrines. If anyone attacks me, I won't hold back." As the Great Sun Shrine Lord, Limitless Sun was only a half-step higher being. Now that the others were all higher beings, his faction had fallen. He could only hope that others wouldn't attack him. How could he have the guts to attack others? Limitless Sun said awkwardly, "Me too." Ri Sheng said, "In the past, the rule was that I wouldn't offend anyone who didn't offend me." Daytime laughed as he said, "That's it then. Is there anything else? If not, we can leave now." Limitless Sun said, "Nothing. You can leave now." Daytime smiled and nodded. and the three of them left the meeting hall. After the three of them left, Limitless Sun asked, "What do you all think?" Ching said calmly, "Something must have happened to the three of them for them to have formed another faction. I'm quite curious as to what happened for them to easily break through to higher being." Limitless Sun smiled as he said, "I'm also quite curious about this. Back then, the few of us went through a lot of trouble to break through to higher being, but the three of them broke through consecutively." Limitless Sun said, "What should we do in the future?" Limitless Sun said with a cold expression, "Be careful of them in the future. Perhaps the three of them will attack other shrines. If they dare to, we'll join forces and destroy those three shrines before choosing a new sun god emissary." Ching nodded. "That's a good idea." The others nodded in agreement. During the day, if the three people truly threatened them, they would definitely destroy the three shrines because the 8-day shrine needed 8 shrines. Otherwise, they would not mind. Only 5 shrines remained out of the 8 shrines. Everyone left and returned to their own factions. Limitless Sun flew towards his faction, but his expression suddenly changed as 3 powerful auras surrounded him. 3 figures appeared. It was the 3 of them from daytime. Limitless Sun's expression became serious as he asked, "What do you want?" Limitless Sun had never thought that the 3 of them, who had just agreed not to attack each other, would come to him in the next second. His cultivation was only at the half-step higher being level, and he could at most defend against one of them. Facing the 3 of them, he would most likely die. Daytime laughed as he said, "Of course we're looking for you. We want you to join us, and we'll help you break through to higher being. Think about it. You're the weakest of the 8 sun god emissaries. It's not just us. If the other shrines want to attack you, you won't have the chance to resist." Limitless Sun was quite tempted. He also wanted to break through to higher being and did not want to be weaker than others. According to what Daytime had said, he indeed did not have the ability to protect himself, and anyone could bully him. Limitless Sun asked, "What will happen if I don't agree?" Daytime smiled as he said, "I know what you want. If you don't join us, the 3 of us can only kill you, devour your shrine, and start an all-out war with the other 4 shrines." This was their only option. If they did not do this, the 5 of them would join forces to attack the 3 shrines, which would put the 3 shrines at a disadvantage. If they had half of the 8 sun shrine strength, they would have the strength to fight back. Limitless Sun frowned and asked, "How can I believe that you can help me break through to higher being?" Limitless Sun lightly laughed as he said, "The 3 of us are the best proof. What else do you need us to say?" Limitless Sun asked curiously, "You've grasped a powerful secret technique for breaking through to higher being?" Apex. Chapter 29-23. Book 1. Chapter 363. Divine Child Daytime shook his head and gave a trace of respect as he smiled and said, "Godchild, it's best if you show yourself. With you here, I'm sure you'll be able to convince him." Hearing this, Rihu looked quite confused and looked around, but did not see a 4th person. 3 blood-red worms came out of the 3 people's bodies and gathered together to form a humanoid figure. It was Zhao Fu. Looking at the round crystal on Zhao Fu's forehead, Rihu said in shock, "You're the one who prophesied. It was you who helped them break through to higher beings?" Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Now I want you to submit to me." Rihu thought about it. In actuality, he had no other choice. If he did not join, he would die. However, it seemed that joining Zhao Fu's side would bring him more benefits. However, compared to the other 4 god halls, he was quite weak, so he said, "I agree to submit to you." Zhao Fu smiled and nodded. Rihu chuckled as he said, "Don't worry, Rihu. Godchild's power surpasses your imagination, and you definitely won't suffer if you submit to him." Rihu felt quite nervous and nodded. Zhao Fu had Daytime, and the other 2 go back while he and Rihu went to the Great Sun God Hall. A 1,000-meter-tall golden statue appeared before them. It was a muscular man with no clothes on his upper body. He had a coarse face and gave off a massive wave of sun power. Zhao Fu gave off a faint light, and floated into the golden statue. The golden statue once again seemed to come to life and gave off a powerful aura. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as a sun appeared in the sky, giving off intense light that was many times brighter than the other suns, and its heat scorched the ground. At that moment, the other sun god emissaries looked quite confused as they asked, "What's going on?" The statue looked up at the sky and gave off boundless golden light from its forehead. A vast amount of divine power spread out and enveloped the entire area. A massive golden orb of light slowly descended from the sky, giving off a blinding light that made it difficult for countless people to open their eyes. It also gave off a searing heat that seemed to be able to incinerate everything. It was impossible to resist this heat. The statue slowly descended to the top of the temple, and everyone could feel the terrifying heat. Sweat poured out of their bodies as large amounts of water evaporated from their bodies. The god statue lowered its head and looked at Rinyo, who was standing below. It stretched out a finger, and the golden ball of light fused into Rinyo's body. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as Lake Ri's body protected the boundless golden light, and a wave of divine power exploded out. The obstacles blocking him were instantly destroyed, and a power that seemed to control heaven and earth spread out from his body. The sound of water could be heard as a golden lake appeared in the sky, giving off a terrifying aura. Vast Sun and the other god envoys had solemn expressions on their faces. The sun in the sky was emitting waves. It was the sun that belonged to the great Sun Temple, the one who broke through his Sun Lake. But didn't Sun Lake just go back? How did he break through so quickly? Or was it someone else? What exactly happened in the land of Extreme Yang? Why did 4 people consecutively break through to become almighty beings? Such a strange thing had never happened in the past. The god envoys immediately sent people to investigate and found out that the person who had broken through was indeed Rinyo. Rinyo had just gone back. So how had he broken through? Everyone felt quite confused. However, they heard that apart from Rinyo, no one else had been in the temple. Did this have anything to do with the 3 people from the daytime temple? Or had Rinyo made a deal with the 3 people from the daytime temple and became a higher being? There were simply too many suspicious points. It was possible that Rinyo had also become one of their people, making things even more troublesome. If they wanted to act against the daytime temple, they would have to face 4 temples. This made it so that they did not dare to act rashly, or else a massive battle would erupt. The 4 sun god envoys immediately became wary in order to prevent anything unexpected from happening. Right now, they still had a decent advantage. On the other side, Rinyo stabilized his cultivation and smiled as he looked at Zhao Fu. After personally experiencing the benefits of becoming a higher being, Rinyo became much more respectful toward Zhao Fu, and he believed in the prophecy even more. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "Cultivate well in the great Sun Temple. I'll let you know if there's anything." Rinyo smiled as he said, "Understood, godchild." Zhao Fu's body exploded and turned into a blood-red mist that dissipated. This was just a clone of Zhao Fu and would not affect Zhao Fu at all. Seeing Zhao Fu leave, Rinyo smiled and gave the order to prepare for battle at any time. He had a premonition that the 8th Sun Temple was about to be unified, and he wanted to do his part for the 8th Sun Temple. He believed that the path he walked was the path of glory. Zhao Fu had not done anything in the Great Sun Temple, and now that Rinyo had broken through to become a higher being, it was not convenient for him to do anything. Riqing and Rigio stood by the side, looking quite excited. When they had first met Zhao Fu had just become a temple lord, but in such a short period of time, he had become the temple lord of 4 temples. Riqing giggled as she said, "Godchild, you're so amazing. The person I admire the most is you." Zhao Fu lightly laughed and nodded. Riqing asked curiously, "Not only that, Godchild, what can unify the 8th Sun Temple?" "I'm looking forward to the day when the 8th Sun Temple will be reborn." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "I'll take control of the 8th Sun Temple as soon as possible. I also want to ascend to the sun as soon as possible." Hearing this, Ri Qing and Ri Jiu looked shocked. Godchild, you want to ascend to the sun? That's a very dangerous thing. You might be burned to ashes by the sun. In the past, the sun god emissary was heavily injured because of this. Zhao Fu nodded. There was a difference between ascending to the sun and ascending to the moon. The moon did not pose much danger, while the sunlight could burn everything. If one could not ascend to the moon, one would not be seriously injured, but if one flew to the sun, one might die. Ri Qing said worriedly, I want you to stay in the temple. We believe that you can lead us to glory. Zhao Fu smiled as he said, My goal this time is to ascend to the sun. You don't have to worry too much. I won't do anything that I'm not confident in. Ri Qing smiled as she nodded. Jiu smiled as she said, I wonder if Godchild needs anyone to serve you. There are already many beautiful women who want to serve you. They're all willing, and there's no coercion at all. Ri Qing said with a red face, I'm willing as well. Zhao Fu wanted to focus on comprehending his bloodline and did not have much interest as he said, There's no need. Oh. Ri Qing felt quite disappointed. Jiu nodded and did not say anything else. 7 days later, Zhao Fu secretly gathered 4 sun god emissaries and started to discuss attacking the other sun god temples. Now that so much time had passed, they should have let down their guard. Apex. Chapter 29-24. Book 1, Chapter 364. Battle. Zhao Fu and the others decided that their next target was the strongest sun. No matter who they attacked, it would be an all-out war. So Zhao Fu wanted to get rid of Sun so that the other 3 shrines would have less of an advantage. Now, the crux was how to deal with Sunday. Because the situation was quite special, luring Sun out would be quite difficult. However, if they did not, it would be even more difficult for Zhao Fu and the others to act. In the end, Zhao Fu thought about using his identity as the person with the prophecy. With his identity as the person with the prophecy, he would most likely be able to draw out Vast Sunday. However, if his identity was exposed, it would be easy for Vast Sun to guess that he was the person behind Daytime. So he decided against it. Rihu suddenly said, Godchild, how about we infiltrate the Vast Sun Shrine and assassinate Sun Hao? The 4 of us should be enough, and as long as we act quickly and do not give others time to react, there should be no problems. Zhao Fu thought about it and decided that this was the only way. Following this, the 5 of them went to Sun Hao's shrine and split up. During the day, the 4 of them stealthily headed towards Sun Hao's room while Zhao Fu headed towards the statue. Within the room, Sun Hao was sitting cross-legged and cultivating. He was indeed the strongest out of the sun god emissaries. And just as the 4 of them were about to approach, Sun Hao coldly shouted, Who? Seeing that they had been discovered, the 4 of them did not hesitate and exploded out with power, causing 4 waves of golden energy to shoot towards Sun Hao. Sun Hao's expression fell, and he hurriedly stretched out a hand, causing a wave of energy to flow out and form an enormous golden shield of light. Bang! A massive sound rang out as the golden shield of light was shattered and Sun Hao was sent flying back by that wave of energy, blood leaking out of his mouth. After all, it was 4 higher beings attacking with their full power, and Sun Hao could not easily block it. Sun Hao looked at the 4 people in front of him with a trace of anger as he said, The 4 of you have allied. During the day, he said coldly, Don't waste words with him. Kill him first. Sun Hao furiously laughed as he said, It won't be that easy to eliminate me. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as Sun Hao exploded out with a massive wave of power. Countless rays of golden light shot out, illuminating the surrounding 10,000 meters. Countless god envoys saw this divine light and understood that Vast Sun was in danger. They quickly gathered together. Ri Jian understood that this battle had to be resolved as soon as possible. His body flashed, and he appeared in front of Ri Hao. He punched towards Ri Hao's chest with a terrifying force. Ri Hao stretched out his hand and grabbed Ri Jian's fist, blocking the attack. Rin Yo appeared on the other side of Vast Sun and unleashed a terrifying palm strike. He swatted at Ri Hao's head, but Rihao used his strength to block the attack, once again blocking it. Sun Yu appeared in the sky. A hand glowed with a golden light and grabbed towards Broad Sun with a powerful force. It was as if a golden beam of light shot out. Rising Sun dodged to the side, dodging the attack. Rihu appeared behind him and kicked out, bringing with it a golden gale. This time, Rihu was unable to dodge and was kicked out of the temple. A pained expression appeared on Endless Sun's face. He did not choose to continue fighting with the four of them. Instead, he turned around and fled. The first to arrive were the guards. Seeing that Hao Ri was in danger, he immediately shouted. Like a flood, they rushed towards Ri Jian. Ri Jian coldly harumphed, and his body turned into a golden dragon. He brought with him a terrifying power as he rushed towards Sun Yu. The ground was unable to withstand that power and continuously crumbled. Bang! 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 One by one. The guards were sent flying by the golden dragon without any resistance. Muffled sounds rang out, and the guards that were sent flying lost their life force. The golden dragon immediately rushed in front of Sun Yu, and Sun Yu could only stop. He punched out with all his strength, and a massive golden palm containing immense power appeared. He punched towards the golden dragon. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the palm and the golden dragon collided. A massive golden shock wave spread out, causing the ground to crumble and sending countless soldiers flying. Ryu's body flashed and appeared in the sky, and he ferociously kicked towards Sun Yu. Bang! A muffled sound rang out as Sun Yu was sent flying and crashed to the ground, coughing up a mouthful of blood. Boom! At that moment, a massive explosion sounded out as the entire shrine gave off a golden light, and a powerful aura spread out. Countless rays of golden light condensed in the sky, forming an enormous golden orb of light that was 10,000 meters wide. It gave off a massive might that could be felt within the surrounding 1,000 kilometers. Sun Yu let out a sigh of relief. With the Shrine Protection's power activated, he did not have to fear the four people from Rijian. The four people's expressions fell, and they immediately rushed towards Sun Yu. Boom! The massive golden orb of light in the sky gave off a powerful golden wave of light that quickly spread out. The four people from Rijian felt a wave of sun's power attack towards them. They immediately released a wave of power to defend against that wave of golden power. Even though the Guardian God Palace's power had appeared, it was slightly more powerful than a higher being's. However, there were four people in the daytime, so they could resist this Guardian God Palace's power. Sun Yu immediately rushed into the sky. As long as he fused with the Shrine Protection's power, his power would increase by many times, and he would be able to defend against the four people from Rijian. When the other Gold Grade Palace Lord arrived, the four people from Rijian would not be able to escape so easily. The four people from Rijian understood what Sun Yu was thinking and immediately attacked with their full power. They slapped out with a palm, and a massive wave of golden power flowed out as four massive golden arms containing terrifying power slammed towards Sun Yu. Seeing the four golden arms attack him, Sun Yu knew that he would not be able to block them with his power, so he could only descend and dodge this ferocious attack. However, Sun Yu did not give up and controlled the Shrine Protection's power to give off a terrifying aura. Boom! 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 For massive explosions sounded out as the orb of light shot out four massive golden beams of light that contained terrifying power as they shot towards the four people from Rijian. The four people from Rijian immediately blocked with their hands, causing a semicircular golden barrier of light to appear. However, they were still sent flying back by the four beams of light, but they were not injured. Sun Yu continued to fly towards the sky. If Sun Yu fused with the Shrine Protection's power, it would be almost impossible for the four of them to kill Sun Yu, and they would fail the mission. Seeing Sun Yu fly into the orb of light, the massive orb of light turned into countless traces of golden energy and dissipated. This caused Sun Yu to look quite shocked, and he did not know what had happened. The four people from Rijian grasped this opportunity and immediately attacked with all their strength. 4 waves of golden energy fused into one and gave off powerful sounds as they hit Sun Yu's body. Chapter 29-25. Book 1. 365 Bang. A muffled explosion sounded out as the energy passed through Vast Ree's body, causing him to cough up a large mouthful of blood. Vast Ree's expression was quite unsightly. Without the shrine's power, he no longer had any advantage. If he stayed here, he would only die. Vast Ree shouted, "All god emissaries, stop them!" Boom! A large number of god emissaries had arrived, and they gave off golden light. Waves of sun god power gathered at the center, forming a 1,000-meter-tall, muscular, transparent, golden sun aspect that gave off massive amounts of sun power appeared. The 4 god emissaries exploded out with immense power, and 4 golden rays of light shot toward the golden sun image incredibly quickly, seeming to have the power to pierce through everything. Bang! 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 From massive explosions sounded out as the 4 rays of light blasted open 4 large holes in the sun image. 1 on the shoulder, 2 on the abdomen, and 1 on the thigh. The countless god emissaries coughed up mouthfuls of blood, but the sun image did not dissipate and quickly repaired its body. Vast Ree had long since flown away. Only by escaping to another shrine would he be able to survive. Boom! Suddenly, another massive explosion sounded out as a massive golden statue, giving off a terrifying aura, walked out. This statue was 1,000 meters tall and was made of pure gold. It had a slender body and looked like a cold-looking young man, and it gave off a golden light. After this golden statue appeared, it sent a palm containing massive power towards Vast Ree. Vast Ree had never thought that this statue would move by itself, so he was caught off guard and was slammed into the ground, creating a large crater. The statue was controlled by Zhao Fu, and the shrine's defensive power was dispelled by Zhao Fu. As the person who made the prophecy, he had the authority to do so. Xing! The day emissary raised a hand, and a sun in the sky gave off intense light. A golden ray of light turned into a massive sword that slashed down from the sky, seeming to be able to split everything in half. Boom! The massive sun image was split apart by this massive sword, resulting in a massive explosion. Countless god emissaries were sent flying, and some coughed up large mouthfuls of blood while others fainted on the ground. The 4 god emissaries immediately rushed in front of Vast Ree. Even though Vast Ree did not understand what had happened, he got up from the ground and continued to run, looking quite wretched. Boom! Rinyo punched out with both fists, and a massive energy blasted out, turning into a massive golden bull that rushed towards Vast Ree. Vast Ree could not dodge, so he turned and punched out, sending a terrifying energy backwards. Bang! A huge explosion sounded out as the golden bull was blown apart by a single punch. The explosive power spread out and sent Vast Sun flying. Ryu suddenly grabbed Rihao's arm and smashed him into the ground, creating a huge crater. Rihao coughed out another mouthful of blood, and his palm turned into a golden saber, slashing towards Ryu. Ryu quickly retreated. Lake Ree rushed over and waved his hands. 2 huge streams of golden water twined around Soaring Sun's body, twisting him as if he wanted to shred him into pieces. Riri's body of out, and he of, and he re-roared. Of foo of out. Of Su, and was went, and of Re, chun of. At that moment, Rinyo raised a hand, and a sun in the sky gave off intense light. At that moment, Rinyo raised a hand, and a sun in the sky gave off intense light. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as a massive golden light turned into a massive sword, and it brought with it the power to cleave apart the heavens and earth as it descended. Vast Rinyo gave off intense golden light, wanting to resist one last time. Clang! A massive sword hum sounded out as the massive golden sword slashed down, cleaving Vast Ree body into 2. The number 1 expert of 8 Sun God Hall had died, just like that. Sun God emissary! A terrified cry sounded out. At that moment, the 8 gold palace lords of vast Sun God Hall had arrived, and they just happened to see Vast Re being killed. Renyo and the other gold palace lords gave off powerful auras as they stood in the sky. Now that vast Sun God Hall had died, there was nothing for them to fear. The god emissaries and gold palace lords all had grim and unsightly expressions. Now that Sun God emissary was dead, they had no direction, nor did they know what to do. A gold palace lord shouted furiously, "Everyone, attack together! Avenge Sun God emissary!" Renyo coldly harumphed and sent that gold palace lord flying with a palm strike. The other gold palace lords all had different expressions. Some were solemn, some were fearful, and some were nervous. However, none of them acted. Renyo laughed as he said, "Right now, your only choice is to submit to us. Otherwise, we will kill all of you." Everyone started to hesitate. At that moment, a golden light shot out from the divine statue, and a figure appeared in the sky. Countless people looked at the circular crystal on that figure's forehead and cried out in shock. "It's the person who prophesied." Zhao Fu laughed as he said, "That's right, I'm the person who prophesied." Renyo and the other 4 listened to my orders. The 8 Sun God Hall is about to undergo a transformation, and I want all of you to submit to me. I will lead the 8 Sun God Hall to become more powerful. When everyone saw Zhao Fu appear, their expressions became somewhat excited, and they did not resist surrendering. Now, they understood everything. Why the 8 Sun God Hall's people continuously made breakthroughs, why the other God Hall Lord had attacked them, and why the God Hall's protective power had disappeared. It turned out that everything was because of the person who prophesied. Person who prophesied, I am willing to believe you. A god emissary respectfully knelt on the ground. The other god emissaries looked at each other. They did not have any other choice, and they also knelt on the ground and expressed their submission. In the sky, a few gold palace lords looked at Zhao Fu. They had not made a decision yet. Zhao Fu looked at them and asked, "What are your choices?" A gold palace lord, who looked valiant and was rather tall, thought for a moment before saying, "Since you are the person who prophesied and caused such a huge commotion in the extreme Yang region, I believe that the extreme Yang region is about to undergo a transformation. I am willing to submit to you." Zhao Fu nodded in satisfaction, and the other gold palace lords also expressed their willingness to submit. The gold palace lord, who had been shouting that he wanted to take revenge for Vast Sun, did not say anything when he saw Zhao Fu appear. He lowered his head and stood there carefully. The 4 gold palace lords were somewhat surprised at Zhao Fu's appearance. After all, Zhao Fu had appeared in front of so many people. He definitely could not hide his identity. Very soon, everyone in the extreme Yang region would know that the person who prophesied had appeared. Now, there was no need for Zhao Fu to hide anymore. He already controlled the strength of 5 God Halls, including the strongest, the vast Sun God Hall. As for the remaining 3 God Halls, Zhao Fu was no longer worried. Peak. Chapter 29-26. Book 1, Chapter 366. War. The 3 other Sun God emissaries also heard about this, and they felt both shocked and conflicted. They had never thought that the person with the prophecy would appear, and that the recent events had been caused by him. Now, they only had 2 choices: submit to the person with the prophecy, or resist. They only had 3 God Halls, while the person with the prophecy controlled 5 God Halls. They were in an extremely disadvantageous situation. The people in the extreme Yang region also knew that the person with the prophecy had appeared and disappeared, and most of them were quite happy. Many people believed in the prophecy and believed that the person with the prophecy would lead the Sun clan to prosperity and that their days of happiness would come. Some people held banquets to celebrate. Some people hung bright decorations to welcome the person with the prophecy, and some people even knelt on the ground and prayed devoutly. Of course, there were also people who did not want to see the person with the prophecy, as they were worried that their interests would be affected. After Zhao Fu appeared in the vast sun god palace, he started to gather the armies of the 5 god halls, preparing to take down the 3 remaining god halls in one fell swoop and carry out a new revolution. The valiant-looking Gold Hall Lord who had first submitted to Zhao Fu had also been promoted by Zhao Fu to become a sun god emissary of the vast sun god palace. His name was Ri Xian. After hearing that Zhao Fu had gathered the armies, the 3 sun god emissaries gathered together and thought about how to deal with this. Ri Xian frowned and said, "What should we do?" Ri Qing sighed. "We have 3 god halls and they have 5 god halls. We have 3 higher beings and they have 5 god halls. We have 3 armies and they have 5. Most importantly, our morale is lower than theirs. I don't even know how to fight this battle." Ri Xiang said, "Are we just going to submit to the person with the prophecy? I don't want to be controlled by others and have to bow and scrape to them." Ri Qing said in agreement, "We're the people with the highest authority in our god halls, and we have to listen to our orders. If we listen to someone else's orders, I won't be able to get used to it." Ri Qing frowned and said, "Then if we surrender, do we have a chance at victory?" Hearing this, the other 2 people fell silent. Ri Qing said in a deep voice, "If we knew of his existence, the 4 shrines might have been able to annihilate the other 4 shrines. However, the strongest shrine has already been taken down by him. Moreover, with the identity of the prophet, the 3 shrines don't really want to fight with him. I think we can choose to surrender." Ri Qing said in surprise, "Ri Qing, I never thought that you would choose to surrender so easily." Ri Qing replied, "This is the current situation, and I have no other choice. I'm also a little curious as to whether the person who prophesied is as powerful as the prophecy said." Ri Qing God, God Hall intent, God, and Ri Hall, and Qing and Sun, and God Hall, and God Ri God, and God Hall, I Chun Qing, Sun Hall, Qing, that Chun God awakened. Emissary God will Chun and that Sun, and said, San Qing and rising and God, that you Emperor Sun, Qing Chun, God, and said, God Qing, and said, God and Chun. T God, God and Hall, God, 1, God Qing and Qing. Hearing this, Ri Qing Chen sighed, "All right." On the other side, Zhao Fu and the others who were about to attack heard that the 3 sun god emissaries wanted to surrender and felt quite surprised. Ri Qing Chen lightly laughed as he said, "I never thought that the 3 of them would be so tactful. But since they're willing to surrender, we can avoid an unnecessary battle." Ri Qing Chen smiled as he said, "We're all part of the Sun Clan, and I don't want to see too many Sun Clan casualties." Ri Qing Chen smiled as he said, "Now that the 3 temples have surrendered, the Godchild will control the 8 temples and become the most respected person in the 8th Sun Temple. The 8 temples will also be unified and will no longer be independent like before." Ri Qing Chen smiled as he said, "I'm looking forward to the future of the 8th Sun Temple more and more." Ri Qing Chen happily smiled as he said, "Me too." Zhao Fu also gave a trace of a smile as he said, Let's go and accept their surrender." Everyone smiled and nodded. Zhao Fu brought his people to the 10 Sun Temple. Ri Qing and the others respectfully waited there. Looking at the black cloak person in the lead, they understood that he was the person who made the prophecy, and they bowed as they said, "We greet the person who made the prophecy." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "No need to be so polite." Ri Qing and the others looked at Zhao Fu and felt quite shocked. This person who made the prophecy only had Emperor Heaven Realm cultivation. How had he done all those things? Zhao Fu sat on the divine throne and looked at Ri Qing and the others as he said, "You 3 are willing to submit to me. As long as you don't disobey my orders, I won't abolish you." Ri Qing and the others felt relieved and nodded. Zhao Fu said with a trace of seriousness, "After coming to the extreme Yang region, the first feeling that the 8th Sun Temple gave me was that it was a tumor living in the extreme Yang region. Not only was it absorbing the extreme Yang region's nutrients, but it was also harming the extreme Yang region. You're no longer the 8th Sun Temple that was loved and respected by everyone, but you've become the 8th Sun Temple that people fear, rage, loathe, and despise." Zhao Fu paused here and everyone else's expressions became grim as they lowered their heads, feeling a sense of pressure. The 8-Sun Temple becoming like this was directly related to them, especially those who had been sun god emissaries. If it wasn't for the fact that Zhao Fu had said that he would not abolish them, they would have been worried that they would be abolished. Zhao Fu was using peaceful means before using force, giving them some pressure, as he said. After coming to the extreme Yang region and seeing the 8-Sun Temple, I wanted to reform the 8-Sun Temple and have it become the 8-Sun Temple that was loved and respected by everyone. Ri Jin smiled as he said, I fully support Godchild, and your reform is something that I've always wanted to happen. As the first gold-grade palace lord that Zhao Fu had taken in, Ri Jin had wanted to reform the 8-Sun Temple, but he did not have the ability to do so. Now that Zhao Fu had done it, Ri Jin felt quite happy and would fully support him. Rinyo also said, Godchild, I also fully support you. Rinyo was most likely influenced by his wife. Out of the 8 Sun Temples, his subjects and women were relatively better, so it was understandable why he was the second one to express his support. Ryu also said, Godchild, I also support you. The 8 Sun Temple needs a new reform. I originally had this thought as well. Rinyo looked at the others and said, I also support Godchild. After everyone else expressed their support, only Ri Qing and the others remained. Just then, Zhao Fu had said that he would not abolish them, but the prerequisite was that they had to listen to his orders. If they were not willing to listen, they could not blame Zhao Fu. Chapter 29-27 Book 1 Chapter 367 Divine Child. Ri Qing thought for a moment before nodding. I'm willing to support Divine Child. Since Ri Qing had expressed his stance, the other 2 god emissaries also expressed their willingness to support Zhao Fu's reforms. If they did not support him, they might lose their status as Sun emissaries, and a new Sun emissary could be promoted at any time. Zhao Fu smiled in satisfaction and nodded. First, I want to announce the abolition of 2 systems. First, god emissaries are not allowed to collect resources from other villages, and second, I want to abolish the servant system. These 2 systems have been abolished by Zhao Fu long ago when he was the Temple Lord. Later, considering that it would cause too great of a commotion, it was temporarily stopped. Now that Zhao Fu had become the Temple Lord of the 8 Sun Temple and had the highest authority, it was time for a new reform. Ri Qing said, Divine Child, these 2 systems will be in place for a long time, and there will be a lot of opposition. Ri Qing also advised, Divine Child, this is too much of a hindrance. How about we do it step by step, and don't be in such a hurry? Rihu also said, yes, this will affect many people's interests, and there will be a lot of resistance. Zhao Fu had long since expected that there would be a lot of resistance. After all, when Zhao Fu had abolished the 2 systems in the White God Temple, he had received a lot of help. Zhao Fu's solution was very direct, which was to kill them all. Perhaps taking things slowly would reduce some resistance and casualties, but Zhao Fu did not have that much time to stay here. Zhao Fu said, yes, I know there will be a lot of resistance. Gather the forces of the 8 god temples and have them spread throughout the extreme Yang land. If anyone resists, kill them without mercy. The Sun emissaries looked at Zhao Fu in shock. They had never thought that Zhao Fu would be so decisive and kill those who resisted. Who knew how many people would die, and the 8 Sun Temple would suffer great losses. Ri Qing could not help but say, Divine Child, if we do this, many people will die, and it will have a negative impact on the 8 Sun Temple. Zhao Fu nodded. I understand that there will be great losses, but without destruction, there can be no construction. Only by sacrificing these people can we welcome a completely new 8 Sun Temple. Ri Qing didn't say anything. Zhao Fu looked at the crowd. Do you have anything else to say? Everyone fell silent. Zhao Fu said, Then follow my orders. Yes, the Sun God envoys replied. The 8 assembled armies of the Divine Hall were distributed to various places in the land of Extreme Yang according to Zhao Fu's orders. At the same time, he announced the abolition of the 2 systems. The happiest were, of course, the people from the villages and the maids who had been persecuted. They couldn't help but feel relieved, and some of them were even moved to tears. The prophecy had come true. The person who made the prophecy would make their lives better and make the re-race stronger. Of course, there were also some people who were not convinced. Originally, their own benefits would not be affected much, and they even thought that there would be more benefits, but they did not expect it to be like this. Some people chose to endure it. Now that the prophet had already taken control of the 8 days divine hall, rebelling was equivalent to courting death. Some people couldn't take it anymore. They gathered their troops and wanted to resist Zhao Fu's orders. At that moment, the armies spread out in various places were put to use. An army easily broke into a town, and those who resisted wanted to escape in fear. The army ferociously chased after those people. In the end, the mayor of the town was captured. He was a pot-bellied middle-aged man, and he was dragged in front of an armored young man by 2 people. The middle-aged man cried as he begged, "I won't dare to do it again. Please let me off this time. I'm willing to obey all of your orders." The young man coldly ordered, "The Son of God has ordered that anyone who disobeys will be killed without mercy." The middle-aged man was dragged away, and a soldier took out a large saber and chopped off the middle-aged man's head, causing blood to spurt out like a fountain. Countless howls sounded out in the town, causing people to feel terror. The stench of blood spread everywhere. After killing many of the rebels, the young man had people hang their corpses on the city walls to warn others. There were also rebels in other places, but just as they were tempted, the army stationed at the side immediately charged in and killed all of the rebels. Surrendering was useless, and the corpses were piled up into a small mountain, and the blood formed a small stream. This made people feel immense fear. Under the suppression of this bloody massacre, the seeds of rebellion were eradicated before they could grow. The others who had the intention of rebelling did not dare to make any moves to rebel. After a short period of chaos, the 8th sun god temple quickly calmed down. It could even be said to be deathly silent. No matter if it was those who wanted to rebel or those who supported change, none of them dared to make a sound in the face of this bloody massacre, as they were afraid that they would be killed. The 8th sun god emissaries became incredibly careful in front of Zhao Fu, afraid that they would anger him. Seeing the 8th sun god temple become completely different in such a short period of time, the 8th sun god emissaries felt quite shocked. Zhao Fu waited a few days for the massacres to settle down before giving out some more orders. At the same time, he made some announcements, saying that he would not casually kill people, and that those he killed were people who deserved to die. There were people who had disobeyed his orders, and were people who had obstructed the 8-day God Temple's reformation. Zhao Fu then gave out another order, inviting the various villages, towns, and factions to come to the 8th Sun God Temple to discuss the future direction of the 8th Sun God Temple and how to resolve the various problems. After hearing about this, the people who had been worried and afraid once again cheered and no longer worried about being punished. They wholeheartedly supported Zhao Fu, the person who had made the prophecy. People from various places came to the 8th Sun God Temple with smiles and hope. Seeing the person who had made the prophecy, they all felt quite excited. Zhao Fu did not put on a high and mighty front, and instead sat on his throne warmly. He listened to the various things and gave some replies. Even though he might not be able to resolve the various problems, he still had that attitude. Finally, he invited everyone to a banquet. After these people went back, they told everyone about what had happened, letting everyone know what kind of person Zhao Fu was, as well as his thoughts about the 8th Sun God Temple. The extreme Yang region was sent into an uproar, and everyone's love and respect for Zhao Fu became even more fervent. It could be said that no matter what orders Zhao Fu gave, they would immediately carry them out. They were filled with confidence in the 8th Sun God Temple's future. Seeing the changes in the 8th Sun God emissaries, they became even more respectful toward Zhao Fu. They understood that Zhao Fu was not as simple as the person who had made the prophecy, and that his power was extraordinary. They were filled with anticipation towards the 8th Sun God Temple's future. Chapter 29-28. Book 1, Chapter 368 Inches the Village. The white-haired elder and the other villagers looked at the changes in the eighth sun god temple. They all smiled and felt quite honored because they were the ones who had discovered the prophesied person. Their village was the starting point of the prophesied person's revolution. The white-haired elder laughed as he said to the children, "I want to apologize to you all. Back then, I blamed you all. If it wasn't for you all, the prophesied person would not have come to our village. I should be thanking you all." The villagers next to him happily laughed as they spoke. That's right. Not only did the prophesied person save us, but he also changed the eighth sun god temple. Our good days are all because of him, and I'm a staunch believer of the prophesied person. That's right. I'm also a staunch believer of the prophesied person. He's simply too noble. I believe that the future will only get better and better. I will forever support the prophesied person, and I also want to become a god emissary in the future. I also want to become a god emissary. The eighth sun god temple is different from before. It's going to become the god emissary it was before. The children did not quite understand what the adults meant, but they still happily smiled as they stood there, and the village became quite lively. Elsewhere, Zhao Fu asked the sun god emissaries what had happened back then and why the extreme Yang land had gone through such a great change. Riqing thought for a moment before replying, "It's been many years, so we don't know much about it, but we do know some things." Zhao Fu had always been quite curious about why the eight forbidden blood art was related to the eighth sun god temple. So he said, "Tell me what you know." Riqing nodded. "It seems like there was a person called Zi Li who barged into our eighth sun divine hall and tried to steal our eighth sun divine halls, 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 eighth sun divine flames. Our eighth sun god temple relied on the eighth sun god flames to form an eighth sun god land in the extreme Yang land. As such, there are all sorts of spirit plants, birds, and beasts everywhere. The 8 balls of divine fire were stolen by Zi Li's men, so the 8 days' godly land disappeared. The land of extreme Yang was eroded by the heat every day. Plants withered, birds and beasts migrated, and finally, it gradually became this desolate and dilapidated state. Zhao Fu asked curiously, "If the god flame is so important to you, how did that person called Zi Li steal the god flame of your 8th sun temple?" Riqing also said doubtfully, "We don't know either. Anyway, he stole it." Zhao Fu continued to ask, "How did the 8th sun god envoys who left behind the prophecy die?" Riqing answered seriously, "We're not very sure about that either. We only know that it's related to the 8th sun divine fire." Zhao Fu continued to ask, "Why would the 8th sun god envoys leave behind a prophecy?" Riqing shook his head. Zhao Fu felt that it was quite strange. That person called Zi Li seemed to be the first evil immortal. However, back then, the first evil immortal's cultivation had been extremely weak, so it was unlikely that he had stolen such an important god flame. The 8th sun god envoy's disappointment was rather suspicious. Why would they leave behind a prophecy? Could it be that the 8th sun god envoys had predicted everything and had given the 8 god flames to the first evil immortal of their own accord? The first evil immortal had then used the 8 god flames to create the 8 forbidden blood arts, creating a power that was not weaker than innate source energy. After the 8th sun god temple lost the god flame, the 8th sun god land started to collapse, and the heaven and earth power started to flow out. The 8th sun god envoys had tried their best to stop it, but in the end, they had failed and died. The reason for the prophecy was that they had long since predicted that someone like him would appear. As such, they had given the 8 god flames to the first evil immortal, and he had obtained the first evil immortal's legacy. In the end, he had returned to the land of extreme Yang, fulfilling their prophecy. All of this was Zhao Fu's guess, and he did not know if it was accurate or not. Otherwise, it would be quite difficult to explain these things. After thinking about it, Zhao Fu decided not to dwell on these things anymore. He would do his best to make the 8th sun god temple better and help the Sun clan prosper. That way, He would not owe them anything by absorbing their source energy. Zhao Fu then asked, "How does the 8th sun god land form?" Ri Qing replied, "It uses the 8 god flames as a foundation and transforms the sunlight from the 8 suns into a type of divine power that covers the entire land of extreme yang." Zhao Fu thought for a moment before saying, "I want to condense the 8 god flames and form a new 8 sun god land." Hearing this, everyone felt quite shocked. Ri Qing could not help but remind Zhao Fu, "Son of God, it is not that easy to condense a god flame. God flames are flames from the sun and take countless years to form. They are quite rare on the sun." Zhao Fu nodded, "I'll give it a try." Ri Qing and the others looked at Zhao Fu and did not stop him. They were not sure if Zhao Fu could do it. Zhao Fu came before the vast sun god temple statue and flew into it, creating a massive gravitational force. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as a massive golden beam of light descended from the sky and landed on the statue, causing a massive wave of sun's power to spread out. Ri Qing and the others looked at the statue seriously. Within the statue, Zhao Fu absorbed the massive wave of sun's power. Now, Zhao Fu planned to split a portion of the 8 forbidden blood art's power and transform it into a god flame. The 8 forbidden blood art was created from the 8 god flames and should be able to turn them back into god flames. However, the 8 forbidden blood art had already formed another terrifying power. This power had nothing to do with sun's power, so Zhao Fu was not sure if he could do it, which was why he said he wanted to give it a try. A blood-red rune floated out from Zhao Fu's chest and stopped there, and countless traces of sun's power quickly gathered towards the blood-red rune. The blood-red rune continuously absorbed the sun's power, and the perverted and twisted aura started to fade, replaced by a fiery and bright aura, giving off intense golden light. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as a terrifying power spread out. The blood-red rune collapsed and turned into a golden flame that was the size of a coin, floating about on Zhao Fu's chest. Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile as he held the small golden flame and flew out from the statue. Seeing the golden flame in Zhao Fu's hand, everyone immediately looked shocked. They had never thought that Zhao Fu would actually be able to do it. Ri Qing could not help but say, "Godchild's abilities are extraordinary. I admit that I am inferior." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "This is only a small portion of the God Flame's power. I am unable to fully recover the God Flame's power." Ri Jian lightly laughed as he said, "This is already very good. Even though it's a bit weak, it can still form the 8th Sun God Land. The God Flame will slowly become stronger after absorbing Sun's power, and the land of extreme yang will return to how it was before." Chapter 29-29, Book 1, Chapter 369. Divine Light. Ryu smiled as he said, "This is all thanks to Godchild. Godchild is the one who made the prophecy, and nothing can stop you." Ryu smiled as he said, "Godchild was able to unify the chaotic 8 sun god temples in such a short period of time, and you even reformed them. I don't think anyone else can do this." Ri Xian smiled and nodded. "It's our fortune that the 8th sun god temple has a godchild." Zhao Fu lightly laughed. "All right, I'm going to go to another god temple to fuse with the god flames. I'm going to another shrine to fuse with the divine fire. You guys wait here. Once I'm done fusing with the 8 balls of divine fire, the 8th sun godly land will be formed again." Everyone smiled and nodded. Zhao Fu came to the divine sun god temple and once again flew into the statue. The statue gave off a massive suction force, and a golden light descended as a blood-red rune floated out of Zhao Fu's chest and stopped in front of Zhao Fu's chest, and countless traces of golden light flowed into it. A massive explosion sounded out as a massive power spread out, and the blood-red rune collapsed into a ball of golden flames. Zhao Fu put away this ball of golden flames and headed to another god temple. He flew into another god temple and continued to fuse with the golden flames. After half a day, Zhao Fu had fused with the 8 balls of golden flames and returned to the vast sun god temple. Zhao Fu stood on a platform, and there were 8 balls of golden flames floating around him. The 8 people in the daytime stood in 8 different directions with Zhao Fu at the center. With the help of the 8 sun god emissaries, it would be easier for Zhao Fu to create the 8 sun god land. The 8 people in the daytime stretched out a hand, and a massive wave of power flowed out from their hands and entered Zhao Fu's body. The 8 people in the daytime looked incredibly shocked. They were all higher being existences, but when their power entered Zhao Fu's body, they felt that Zhao Fu's body was like a massive black hole. Ordinary people would explode and die from just a bit of higher being's power, and the 8 of them felt that it was quite impossible for Zhao Fu to explode with their power. The 8 of them realized how powerful Zhao Fu was, and that he was not as simple as the person who made the prophecy. They could not help but feel more respectful toward Zhao Fu. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the 8 people gave off even greater power and sent it into Zhao Fu's body. Zhao Fu's body emitted a golden light as he flew into the sky with the 8 balls of golden flames beside him. Arriving in the sky, Zhao Fu formed a seal with his hands, and the 8 balls of golden flames scattered in all directions. They were a few hundred meters away from Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu looked at the 8 suns in the sky and opened his eyes, causing a powerful force to radiate out. Right now, Zhao Fu had already absorbed 8 types of divine power. He had absorbed them while fusing with the divine flame. Right now, Zhao Fu was using these 8 types of divine power. The 8 suns in the sky gave off an even more intense light, and a boundless wave of sun's power descended from the sky. The 8 orbs of golden flames absorbed this wave of sun's power and gradually became bigger and bigger, and the auras they gave off became more and more powerful. In the end, the 8 orbs of golden flames absorbed the sun's power and became 8 orbs of golden flames that were 3 meters wide and 6 meters tall, and they gave off terrifying auras. Zhao Fu quickly formed a formation with his hands, and a golden orb of light floated out from the crystal on his forehead. It flew to Zhao Fu's head and gave off a suction force, causing the 8 orbs of golden flames to enter the golden orb of light. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the golden orb of light gave off boundless power and instantly spread out, covering region after region until it covered the entire land of Extreme Yang. From a distance, the land of Extreme Yang was covered by a layer of golden light and gave off a powerful aura. It was as if it was a place blessed by a god, and it gave off a shocking feeling. The countless people in the land of Extreme Yang immediately sensed this power and looked around with strange expressions. The 8 suns in the sky seemed to become slightly weaker and were not as hot as before. However, something even stranger happened. Countless golden clouds appeared in the sky and densely covered the sky. Rumble! The sound of thunder rang out, and countless golden raindrops fell from the sky. It was as if the land of Extreme Yang had been dry for a long time, and it finally welcomed rain. The high temperature of the earth receded, and a wave of vitality spread out. Grass started to sprout and grow on the ground. The barren region was now filled with lush green plants, and the scenery became more beautiful. Seeing this scene, the people living in the land of Extreme Yang cried tears of joy. They had never thought that they would be able to see such a scene for themselves. They had often heard their ancestors talk about what it was like in the past, but they had never seen it for themselves. The scene in front of them was most likely the scene that their ancestors had spoken of. Some people happily ran on the grass. Some people lightly smelled the scent of the grass. Some people smiled as they looked at the sky. And some people laughed and talked. The 8 sun god emissaries looked at the changes around them and smiled. This was something that they had wanted to see, and they were filled with amazement. After so many years, the land of Extreme Yang was once again filled with life. Right now, the 8 sun god land was only a weakened version, and the plants that grew there were only ordinary plants. Even though there seemed to be a lot of them, they were not very useful. The true 8 sun god land could cause large amounts of spirit grasses and spirit medicines to grow in the land of extreme yang. Of course, this was all they could do for now. If they wanted to restore the land of extreme yang to its original state, not only would it take a long time, but they would also need 8 powerful sun god flames, which they could only obtain from the sun. Zhao Fu descended from the sky. The sun god emissaries came before Zhao Fu and said in unison, "Thank you, godchild." Zhao Fu felt quite strange as he asked, "Why are you thanking me?" The sun god emissaries smiled as they said, "We sincerely thank you for everything you've done for the 8th sun god shrine. It can be said that you're our savior, and the prophecies from before have all been verified. Our hearts are filled with reverence towards you." Zhao Fu smiled as he said, "This is all we can do for the land of extreme yang. After I ascend, I'll see if I can take back the 8 true sun god flames. When that time comes, the land of extreme yang will be able to return to its original state." Ri Qing said with a look of shock, "Godchild, you want to ascend to the sun?" The others also looked at Zhao Fu in shock. Zhao Fu smiled as he nodded. "Only by ascending to the sun can one truly obtain source sun energy. This is one of my goals for coming here." Ri Qing said worriedly, "Godchild, this is an extremely dangerous thing. With our abilities as sun god emissaries, we are unable to ascend to the sun. Please don't do such a thing." The sun god emissaries also said, "Godchild, you're our 8th sun god shrine's hope. I won't allow your life to be in danger. Please give up on this thought and don't ascend to the sun." Chapter 2930. Book 1, Chapter 370, translated by Hypersheep 325, edited by Mike. Here Zhao Fu said, "I have my own plans. If it's very dangerous, I will give up. There's no need for you to say anything else." Hearing this, everyone could only sigh. Zhao Fu was the hope of the 8th sun god palace. Zhao Fu started to prepare for ascending to the sun. The sun gave off terrifying heat that could instantly turn steel into molten iron, and it was much more dangerous than ascending to the moon. Zhao Fu did not dare to be careless, and started to prepare seriously. No matter if it was ascending to the sun or the moon, one had to have a guiding force. Without this guiding force, it would be easy to get lost in other spaces. Zhao Fu had absorbed the divine power from the 8 sun god palaces and could sense the guiding force from the 8 suns. He could follow the guiding force to the suns, so this should not be a problem. Moreover, Zhao Fu now had the ability to ascend to the moon, so ascending to the sun would be quite easy. Apart from this, the most important thing was to resist the heat. The heat from the 8 suns was not something that ordinary people could withstand. Zhao Fu thought about it and decided to first turn his body into a sunfire body. That way, he would be able to withstand that terrifying heat. After making this decision, Zhao Fu had the sun god emissaries build a sun ascending platform to help them ascend to the moon. During this period of time, Zhao Fu stayed within the sun god palace by himself and started to turn into a sunfire body. 8 massive golden rays of light descended from the sky, giving off searing heat that seemed to be able to burn everything. Zhao Fu was under the 8 rays of light and absorbed this massive amount of searing heat. His body gradually started to burn, and his body started to turn into energy. In the end, Zhao Fu became a person of fire and gave off boundless golden flames and immense heat. After making these preparations, Zhao Fu came to the sun ascending platform. Looking at the fiery Zhao Fu, the 8 sun god emissaries looked quite worried. Day 1 said, "Godchild, are you sure you want to ascend to the sun? It's not too late to regret it." Day 1 also said, "Ever since the 8 godly spirits died, it has been very difficult to ascend to the sun. This is simply too dangerous. I hope Godchild can consider this carefully." Zhao Fu said, "I've already made my decision. You can leave now." The crowd did not say anything and could only retreat to the side. The sun ascension platform was made of gold and was a few hundred meters tall. There was not a single person around because no one else had been informed of this. After all, someone as important as Zhao Fu was going to ascend to the sun, and it would cause a huge commotion. Zhao Fu chose to ascend during the day because there was sun during the day, which was beneficial to Zhao Fu's ascension. He also chose to ascend to the moon at night because there was moon, which was beneficial to ascend at night. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out as the 8 suns in the sky gave off intense light. A massive wave of sun power spread out, causing the entire sky to become golden. Countless people raised their heads to look at the golden sky, unsure of what had happened. Boom! A loud roar resounded in all directions, and a powerful pulling force descended, pulling Zhao Fu's flaming body upwards. The scene was very spectacular. It was as if Zhao Fu was chosen by the gods. His body continued to fly upwards, and his figure became smaller and smaller. The 8 sun god emissaries could only stand on the spot and watch as Zhao Fu's figure disappeared in front of them. Risher let out a long sigh. "I hope the god sun is fine." Rihu said, "He's the one who made the prophecy, so he might be able to ascend to the sun." Over the years, people have ascended to the sun. I wonder what the scene on the sun rock is like. Ri Qing said seriously, "As the sun god emissaries, we don't even have the ability to ascend to the sun. It would be very shameful if word got out. We need to cultivate as soon as possible. If our cultivation reaches half immortal, I think we might be able to ascend to the moon." Risheng said with a worried look, "How could it be so easy to break through to half immortal? If the 8 sun temple had 8 half immortals, it would immediately become a peak faction in the primal chaos world." Rihu thought for a moment. Things are not so absolute. Didn't something big happen recently? That person from the 12 moons ascended to the moon with the help of a mysterious person, and his cultivation also broke through to half immortal. The 12 moons instantly became one of the strongest factions. Ryu nodded. "They have the mysterious person's help. We have the one who made the prophecy. The 12 of them broke through to half immortal, so the 8 of us will definitely be able to do it too. I believe that the one who made the prophecy is not weaker than others." The others nodded in agreement. However, they did not know that Zhao Fu was that mysterious person. The 12 moons immortals who are cultivating on the 12 moons. Because of the close connection between the sun and moon, they also sensed a trace of change in the sun. However, they did not pay too much attention to it and continued to cultivate in the moon palace. On the other side, Zhao Fu's body continued to rise straight up. It is different from ascending to the moon. The higher he goes, the higher the temperature. It is as if a bottle of water can instantly evaporate. If an ordinary person flies to this distance, they would immediately turn into a dried corpse. However, Zhao Fu is already transformed into a sun fire body, so he is not affected by this terrifying temperature. Of course, this is just the most basic temperature. As he continues to rise, the temperature will get higher and higher. Zhao Fu continued to rise. The terrifying heat dyed the void scarlet red. It looked very scary. If a weapon was thrown out, it would probably turn into molten iron. Although Zhao Fu has sun fire body, he felt some discomfort from this terrifying heat. He is not as relaxed as before. He continued to rise straight up. The rising temperature caused Zhao Fu's body to become very uncomfortable. It is as if his body is being assimilated by the heat. He is not even close to the barrier between worlds, and such a situation has already occurred. No wonder it is much harder to ascend to the sun than to the moon. If he continues to be assimilated by this heat, Zhao Fu will eventually become a part of the surrounding heat. This is naturally not good. Zhao Fu began to absorb the heat and use this method to resist the assimilation of the heat. The effect is pretty good. Although Zhao Fu absorbs it slowly, he can resist the assimilation of the heat. After rising for a while, Zhao Fu is forced to stop because the heat is even hotter. The flames that Zhao Fu's body gives off are devoured by this heat, and Zhao Fu's absorption speed becomes extremely slow. Zhao Fu sits cross-legged on the spot, and the round crystal on his forehead shoots out countless rays of golden light, devouring the surrounding heat. Zhao Fu plans to adapt to this terrifying heat before continuing to fly up. Otherwise, his body will not be able to withstand it. As Zhao Fu devoured the boundless heat, the crystal on his forehead started to go through changes, and it started to become a trace of gold. Apex, that you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.